percentage. So here it was approximately 40% vote percentage. And if we go now to the 2019 Lok Sabha elections, what do we see? There were certain losses for the BJP. If you compare it to as many as the assembly seats, of course, that figure came down to 275. But take a look at this. The vote percentage for the BJP increased by almost 9%. So that's the kind of inroads that the BJP has made, or rather holding on to Uttar Pradesh quite tightly, increasing their vote share, Shivani, even if we look at the number of seats that may have gone down for them.
Yeah, and that's the big challenge for them. As they say, it is always tougher to stay at number one than to reach number one. Defending is always tougher than, being offensive. So these SPRLD, everybody else can be offensive. But this time around, the BJP is in uncharted waters because they haven't been in power for some time. And this time around, they have to present to the government, or put to the public what they've done. So that is the report card they have to present. But I also want to bring in our guest from the Congress party, Suchi Vishwas. Thanks a lot for being with us this morning. We're talking about the saffron surge. The question also continues to be, what happens to the Congress vote share? From 11% in 2012, it came down to just about 6, has stayed around 6. From 28 seats in 2012, it has come down to 7. Since then, more and more people have even left the Congress party. So how do you see the fortunes of the Congress party? You only have up to go from here. You can only go up from here. Suchi.
I was listening to one of my fellow panelists who was saying that none of the community is going to agree with this term, because what exactly people of Uttar Pradesh is facing, one of other fellow panelists was talking about the credibility of the giving all the credit to the.
Unfortunately, Suchi, your link is not very good. We'll try and sort that out. But let me bring in Advaita Kala one more time. Rashid Kidwai, we'll give you some time as well. Advaita Kala, where do you see the factor of the Congress and the AIMIM and the BSP? Is there a major factor?
I don't think the Congress is a factor in these elections. That's just the plain truth. They're really insignificant in that sense. I think you're really looking at a bipolar contest between SP and the BJP, and the RLD, of course, has become a factor in the recent past. You have to remember that Jayant Chaudhary, as well as his father, when they were in that coalition with the BSP, didn't win their parliament seats either. So while we have spoken a lot about the Jat factor in this discussion, and overall, the Jats are about 15% of the electorate. And this area of Western UP, a large part of it is increasingly becoming part of NCR as well. So there is an urbanization that has taken place in this area. So I don't necessarily think you can look at this purely from the perspective of one caste dynamic or one issue. There are going to be multiple issues. Sure, the Jats are a very assertive community. They are 15%, but they own 50% of the land in the area. And along with the Muslims, which are also an assertive and vocal community, you have a combination that is going to be there on the ground. But on the other hand, that combo is also going to make other communities like the Sainis, the Kashyaps, a little nervous seeing that coming together. So I think there are a lot of dynamics at play. And, I don't think it's a walkover for anybody.
It's a neck-to-neck fight, and simplistic, I don't think, is the term with which you can understand Western UP or any other part of Uttar Pradesh. I'm also cutting across to our reporters who continue to track the story from the ground. Siddhant, I'm coming to you from Meerut. You earlier got us those voices. What is the polling percentage so far? How is the response so far? You guys have been telling us it's a very foggy morning in Western UP. Tell us the kind of responses, reactions that you're picking up from the ground. Siddhant, am I audible to you?
Well, yes. Right now, I am at a polling booth. This polling booth is very important because Sangeet Som himself, Sangeet Som comes and cast his vote here. We'll try to speak to some of the voters present here. These voters are going to enter inside the booth. ये बताइए मुद्दे क्या हैं इस बार के, जो अगर मेन दो मुद्दे आपसे पूछूं जिनके आधार पर आप वोट डालने जा रहे हैं तो वो क्या रहेंगे?
विकास, और भाई सही सरकार हो, बस यही दो मुद्दे।
अच्छा, आपके क्या मुद्दे रहे?
विकास और सही सरकार।
विकास और
सही सरकार।
रोजगार, लॉ एंड ऑर्डर।
रोजगार तो चलता ही रहता है, ये तो मिला है, सब अब जैसा करता है सब फल मिलता है, इंसान को करने का फर्ज है अपना।
लेकिन जो वोटर टर्नआउट देख रहा हूँ परसेंटेज में तो अभी रिफ्लेक्ट नहीं हो रहा है, लेकिन जो भीड़ पोलिंग बूथ पे देखने को मिल रही है, आपके पोलिंग बूथ में कम है भीड़, लेकिन जो और पोलिंग बूथ है 112, 24, 23 वहां पे भारी तादाद में लोग आ रहे हैं। इसको आप कैसे देखते हैं, इसको आप कैसे इंटरप्रेट करते हैं?
गांव की जनसंख्या के ऊपर निर्भर करता है, जो गांव में जितनी जनसंख्या होती है उसी के आधार से वोटिंग होता है। तो हमारे गांव का परसेंटेज कम है।
सुबह सुबह ठंड में भी लोग निकल रहे हैं वोट देने के लिए।
तो जो काम पे जाते हैं अपने काम के हिसाब से उसी तरह वोटिंग का वो करते हैं सर।
हाँ, कितना?
30-40% के लगभग वोट
इलेक्शन कमीशन की वेबसाइट में नहीं
सुबह से पूरी फुल भीड़ थी, तो अभी थोड़ा सा आगे लोग कम हुए, नहीं तो सुबह से बढ़िया चल रहा है।
और अभी मैं रास्ते में भी आ रहा था तो जो गांव है, जो कई गांव है वहां पे पूरे घर खाली पड़े हुए हैं, मतलब लोग इतनी बड़ी मात्रा में
सब वोटिंग के लिए जा रहे हैं, सब लोकतंत्र का पर्व मना रहे हैं।
दो नए मुद्दे बता दीजिए जिनके आधार पर वोट।
सबसे बड़ा मुद्दा भय मुक्त शासन हो,
भय मुक्त शासन,
गुंडागर्दी बिल्कुल खत्म, लॉ एंड ऑर्डर हो गया। और फिर ये किसान है, ये किसानों का एरिया है, यहाँ सबसे बढ़िया लॉ एंड ऑर्डर हो गया, बिजली पानी और ये सड़क की व्यवस्था सबसे बड़ी हो, विकास सबसे बात है,
विकास को प्रायोरिटी दी जाए,
विकास को प्रायोरिटी दे।
बाकी सब बातें बेकार हैं,
सब बातें नहीं,
जाति पात भी बेकार है।
जाति पाति क्या है इसमें, कुछ नहीं रखा,
कुछ नहीं रखा
उसमें,
कुछ नहीं रखा है। तो ये जो आप बोल रहे हैं इसी के आधार पर वोट भी करेंगे ना?
बिल्कुल
इसी के आधार पर। ओके,
डबल 100%।
Okay, if I believe what he's saying, then there's nothing in the caste politics. He's saying that he and his other people in the village are going to vote on the issue of development, are going to vote on the issue of women's safety, employment. But going by the ground reality, situation is critical, and it's a two-corner fight between BJP and Samajwadi Party RLD alliance.
Development will be the big obvious issue for the public, because when there is development, when there is law and order, it benefits everyone, and those are the voices we've been getting to. But I want to quickly play out what the Prime Minister has said last evening ahead of these elections. Remember, he made those fiery speeches on the floor of the Parliament, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and he talked about what is real Samajwad, who are the real Samajwadis and who are not, what the BJP stands for versus what particularly their opposition in Uttar Pradesh stands for. And he's been very critical of the Samajwad of this century versus what it used to be. Listen in.
लोहिया जी का परिवार कहीं नजर आता है क्या? वो भी तो समाजवादी थे। जॉर्ज फर्नांडिस का परिवार नजर आता है क्या? वो भी समाजवादी थे। नीतीश बाबू हमारे साथ काम कर रहे हैं, वो भी तो समाजवादी हैं। परिवार कहीं नजर आता है क्या? ये समाजवादी लोग हैं। लेकिन ये लोग देखिए, पूरा परिवार, मुझे एक बार किसी ने चिट्ठी भेजी थी, मैं तो भूल गया आज, उन्होंने कहा कि इनके परिवार से, ये सपा जो है उत्तर प्रदेश का, 45 लोग ऐसे थे जो किसी न किसी पद पर थे। एक ही फैमिली के 45 लोग। और किसी और ने मुझे कहा कि उनके पूरे परिवार में 25 साल की उम्र के करीब करीब सभी व्यक्ति को चुनाव लड़ने का मौका दिया गया है। क्या ये परिवारवाद का लोकतंत्र के लिए खतरा है? इसलिए मैं कह रहा हूं, एक परिवार से अनेक लोग जनता के बीच में जाएं, एक परिवार से 2 लोग जाएं, 3 लोग जाएं और जनता उनको चुनाव करके भेजे, वो एक राजनीति का पहलू है। लेकिन दूसरा, एक परिवार के लोग ही उस पार्टी के अध्यक्ष बने, उस पार्टी के ट्रेजरर बने, उस पार्टी का पार्लियामेंट्री बोर्ड बने। पिताजी अगर नहीं कर सकते हैं तो बेटा अध्यक्ष बने, बेटा नहीं कर सकता है और बूढ़ा हो गया है तो उसका बेटा अध्यक्ष करे, पिता नहीं रहे तो पुत्र करे। ये जो विरासत और वारसा बारिश के रूप में चल रहा है, डायनेस्टी के रूप में चल रहा है, कोई डायनेमिक्स है ही नहीं, ओनली डायनेस्टी। ये जब बनता है, पार्टी परिवार की बन जाती है। और आप देखिए हिंदुस्तान की बर्बादी कहां से हो रही है। जम्मू कश्मीर से शुरू करिए, 2 पार्टियां मेन रही वहां, दोनों परिवार की पार्टियां हैं। अभी तक उसका कोई नया नेता देखा ही नहीं। आज देश में जो 18 से 40 साल की उम्र के लोग हैं, उन्होंने इन पार्टियों के जितने नेता देखे, एक ही परिवार के देखे हैं। दोनों पार्टी, पंजाब में देखिए परिवार वाली पार्टी, आप हरियाणा में देखिए परिवार की पार्टी, उत्तर प्रदेश देखिए परिवार की पार्टी, झारखंड देखिए, परिवार की पार्टी। आप तमिलनाडु में जाइए, परिवार की पार्टी। ये परिवार ही पार्टी चलाता है। परिवार जो चाहे उनका भला। ये लोकतंत्र के लिए बहुत से बड़ा खतरा है। एक पार्टी के दो लोग अगर एमएलए बन गए, एमपी बन गए, तो वो पार्टी परिवार की नहीं बनी है। और ये दोनों को फर्क समझना होगा। कोई ऐसा कह करके इतने बड़े पाप से भाग जाए, ये नहीं चल सकता है। और मेरा मत है, परिवारवादी पार्टियां लोकतंत्र का सबसे बड़ा दुश्मन है।
Some allege that since their land was in rural area, they deserved 4 times the price under the law. But they claim the government cheated them by calling this area urban. Others, like Rukmuddin, claim they have been forced to live in tents for over a year since their residential land was not compensated for. It is this anger that RLD candidate Avtar Singh Bhadana tries to cash in on. Campaigning in the Chiroli village, Bhadana promises better compensation for land and redressal of the issues of farmers.
भडाना जी, आप यहाँ घूम रहे हैं पूरे क्षेत्र में, सबसे बड़ा मुद्दा आपके हिसाब से जेवर की जनता के लिए इस चुनाव में क्या है?
सबसे बड़ा कि यहाँ के किसान और मजदूरों के साथ जुल्म हुए हैं। इस एरिया की ज़मीनें गई, उनके घर उजाड़ दिए गए, उनको ज़मीनों से बेदखल कर दिया गया है कि उनको इस एरिया के 200 किलोमीटर के एरिया का कोई बच्चा यहाँ नौकरी नहीं करेगा। मुझे इन बच्चों के रोज़गार की बात करनी है, मुझे इनके विकास की बात करनी है। यहाँ कुछ भी नहीं है। दिखने को इंटरनेशनल एयरपोर्ट बहुत बड़ी चीज़ है, लेकिन ग्राउंड पर कुछ नहीं।
Sitting BJP MLA Dhirendra Singh counters Bhadana by questioning his credentials. Bhadana has recently come to the RLD SP combined and to Jewar after representing Mirapur as a BJP MLA earlier. Singh says issues of locals can be taken care of only by the BJP. His main plank that the Yogi government made the Jewar airport a reality, while previous governments only got scams and lawlessness.
जेवर विधानसभा इस वक्त दुनिया का निवेशकों का एक ऐसा डेस्टिनेशन है जहां बहुत तेजी से पिछले 5 साल में विकास हुआ है। प्रदेश में योगी आदित्यनाथ जी को मुख्यमंत्री देखना चाहते हैं, क्योंकि उन्हीं की वजह से आज जेवर विश्व मानचित्र पर आ गया है। अभी एक CAG ऑडिट हुआ था नोएडा प्राधिकरण का, तो 50,000 करोड़ का घोटाला मिला। तो ये घोटालेबाज लोग हैं, इन पे मुद्दा तो कुछ और है नहीं। इनके समय में यहाँ से कंपनियां पलायन करने लगी थी, बड़े बड़े उद्योग धंधे।
The constituency though is sharply divided. Right outside the Shamnagar Mandi, where Dhirendra Singh campaigned, a fight broke out between RLD and BJP supporters.
ये तो बीजेपी वाले तो न्यू कहे हैं कि चीन और पाकिस्तान, हिंदू और मुसलमान, और बुर्की मार है मंदिर की। जो ठोस मुद्दा है महंगाई और बेरोजगारी, उसकी चर्चा नहीं है, उससे तो ध्यान हटका हुए हैं।
यह वह क्षेत्र है जेवर जहाँ रात को लाइटें नहीं थी, जहाँ दंगा होता था। आज की डेट में वो दंगा या तो जेलों के भीतर है या उन्हें इस दुनिया से समाप्त कर दिया है, और वो किया है केवल योगी जी ने। मैं भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार में 2017 के बाद 3 बार पुलिस के एग्जाम दे चुका। मेरा नंबर नहीं आता, उसमें मेरी गलती है। सरकार बाइज्जत रोजगार निकाल रही है और कोशिश करती है कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा रोजगार दें।
The Jewar airport will service all of western Uttar Pradesh, from Noida to Bulandshahr, Mathura, Agra, Ghaziabad and Meerut. While BJP showcases the airport and with it Yogi government's commitment to Vikas, the largely agrarian belt in these parts debate if the kisan is getting his due.
नाराजगी की वजह यह है कि किसानों के लिए कुछ ये कर ना पाए 5 साल वो सरकार चलाने के बाद। जो समय पे जो फसल आवे उसकी बिक्री नहीं हो,
कोई कुछ फायदा नहीं, रोजगार नहीं, भर्ती नहीं, कुछ क्या फायदा है बताओ तुम।
पिछली बार मुझे याद है 17 में, 14 में, 19 में मोदी जी जो भी वादे करते थे, योगी जी जो भी वादे करते थे, युवा वर्ग उसको बहुत अच्छे से लेता था। उनको लगता था यही आपके लिए सही है। अब क्या युवा वर्ग की सोच में कुछ बदलाव आ गया है, कुछ अलग सोचता है?
कुछ बदलाव नहीं है मैम। सबसे मेन चीज़ है कि युवा पढ़ाई लिखाई करता है, इसलिए करता है कि हमें कोई रोज़गार मिले, लेकिन हमारी डिग्रियां, डिप्लोमा अलमारियों में पड़ी सड़ रही हैं, कोई जॉब कुछ है नहीं। सबसे मेन चीज़ है यहाँ का विकास इतनी तेज़ी से चल रहा है कि मैं खुद जेवर गवर्नमेंट ITI से ITI कर रहा हूँ। मेरा सन 2018 का बैच है, अब 22 चल चुकी है। तो आप सोचिए जो 2 साल का कोर्स है 4 साल तक तो मैं बराबर पेपर दे रहा हूँ।
बहुत सारे मुद्दे गिनारे थे कि यहाँ पे रोजगार का
बेरोजगारी है, विकास है। इन्होंने देखो, जो हमारी सरकार है रोजगार के मामले में तो बहुत पीछे, विकास कुछ हद तक इन्होंने किया है, ठीक किया है, लेकिन अगर बात करते हैं इनके जो प्रत्याशी थे, जो जीते हुए प्रत्याशी हैं, उन्होंने यहाँ हमारे यहाँ कोई विकास नहीं किया। वो तो केवल अपने गांव के इर्द गिर्द, उनका गांव है रघुपुरा के नजदीक, उन्होंने केवल वहाँ विकास किया है, अपने यहाँ केवल लोकल में।
विधायक से आप नाराज हैं?
बहुत अच्छी तरह से नाराज।
मुख्यमंत्री और प्रधानमंत्री?
मुख्यमंत्री तो बहुत अच्छा है, योगी बाबा जैसा मुख्यमंत्री शासन के लिए बहुत अच्छा है।
You know, they're all saying that employment is an issue, and they're also saying that there is an issue of Vikas, but at the same time, what they are saying is that as far as
यूपी प्लस योगी बहुत है उपयोगी।
Fantastic, isn't it? As I say good morning, this is what Alexa has allowed me to do again. Get back on that quadcopter and right above the Rumi Darwaza, just beside the Bada Imambara over Lucknow. It's the fight for this. Who's going to come back? Is the BJP going to break the jinx? Or is it going to be the SP-RLD combined that's going to mount the challenge and perhaps do the impossible? We have to have a look. It's just phenomenal this Thursday morning as first phase of polling gets underway. The fight, ladies and gentlemen, is who is going to come back on that seat in the capital of Lucknow to run Uttar Pradesh again. That's the big challenge. It's a beautiful sight in front of us. You've got the Gomti River there, looks so beautiful. And as we turn around and the quadcopter swings around a bit, I'm well and truly harnessed inside, so you don't need to worry about me. But have a look at this. Fantastic view. And this is going to also set up the stage for all of us. Uttar Pradesh, Lucknow, and of course New Delhi, 2022 to 2024. It's a beautiful sight. You also have the Bhul Bhulaiya, Awadh ki Bhul Bhulaiya there to my right. There it comes into the frame, the Tile Wali Masjid. It's a beautiful sight aerially from here. Lucknow, absolutely fantastic. Alexa allowing me to get onto this quadcopter. But this is the big fight. 403 seats, 312 went to the BJP, 325 to the BJP and its allies, 47 for the Samajwadi Party. Can they get up to 202 and really do what looks seemingly impossible? BSP 19, Congress anywhere in the fray. We have to see all that. I'm running out of time. I'm going to head back to the studio. But in the meantime, it's over to Zaka and Maria.
All right, what an amazing picture that of Anand over the Bada Imambara in Lucknow. But what is at stake today? What is at stake today, ladies and gentlemen? Phase 1, 58 seats that are up for the grabs. And take a look at what the BJP is defending. 53 out of the 58 seats at a vote share of almost 50%. That is what the BJP is defending in this Western UP belt, all the way from Muzaffarnagar, Shamli down to Mathura and Agra. This is what the BJP is defending with 53 seats. Go back 5 years before that, it's not quite the same story. Because take a look at what happened 5 years before that. The BJP was at number 3 position. It had only 10 seats out of the 58. It went up to 53 in 5 years' time. And look at the others. These others, the 9 seats, all 9 won by the RLD with a 24% vote share. So a quarter of the vote share went to the RLD in 2012. But in 2017, the RLD was completely nowhere in the picture. They just won 1 seat. And that 1 seat is the seat of Chaproli, which of course is the home gad, the native village of Ajit Singh and now Jayant Chaudhary, and he's fighting from that particular seat. But take a look at this entire sweep that the BJP made across Western Uttar Pradesh. 53 out of the 58 seats. Some of their big names from Sanjeev Balyan, Sangeet Som, they all hail from this Western Uttar Pradesh region. And this is where the J plus M, the Jat plus Muslim combine, will be put to test yet again. Because remember, all the elections for the last 7 or 8 years, from 2013 onwards, whether it's 14, 17, 19, were all held in the backdrop of the communal polarization and the Jat-Muslim sort of divide, the fault line that had happened because of those riots. But now, is there bhaichara? Will the Kisan issue, will price rise, will inflation, will that overtake any communal fault line, communal polarization? That's the big question. As I now welcome Maria Shakil, my colleague and political editor. You've been traveling in those places. It is a fascinating contest, this.
Absolutely, Zaka. And is there a running theme, or is there a dominant narrative in this belt? That we'll know perhaps only on 10th. But one thing is clear, that this is going to be an election which will decide which way and perhaps newer ways of looking at elections. It's also very interesting that this is the most urbanized and well-off sub-region of Uttar Pradesh, with Ghaziabad and Gautam Budh Nagar. But Zaka, what we are seeing up there?
Yeah, there's something up in the air.
Yes.
Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Is it Superman?
Well, I can hear you guys. This is the magic of Alexa, and Alexa,
okay. It's our own Superman,
right? And I'm making my way into the studio.
Oh wow!
Take a look at that, the quadcopter landing into the studio. There you go, you guys. Hi, morning. How are you guys?
How are you, Anand? How is it up there?
So that I can get out. So this is what I'm going to do. This is my Alexa. I'm going to put the controls back here and say thank you to Alexa and step out.
Okay.
And there you go. Back into the studio, guys.
Welcome back from up in the air.
Absolutely. It's just been fantastic.
And how long, Anand? How long was the journey?
Well, it just took seconds because it was the Alexa data dome that's actually taken me, and this Alexa quadcopter. It's good to be back on this. And now that we can get this out of the way, okay, Alexa, you can take her out. You can take her out.
Let's go back up.
There you go, up, back up. Thank you very much. We're going to go back on another trip when we get onto the other post. So let me make my way here. It was just fantastic. It's a big challenge, Zaka, and it's not going to be easy, the first phase especially.
Yes, absolutely.
Maria.
Yes. So the news coming in, as Zaka was talking about the Jat factor, this is also related to their occupational identity, which is the farmers. Has the repeal of the farm laws completely blunted the anger the farmers and the Jat farmers may have had against the BJP? Polls are underway in UP for the first phase, and my colleague Arunima spoke to Rakesh Tikait, who has been the face of this entire Kisan movement. Rakesh Tikait speaking to Arunima. Here's that conversation.
सुबह सुबह काफी लंबी कतार कुछ बूथों के बाहर दिख रही थी हमें।
देखिए लाइन लगी हुई है। देखिए।
और आप कैसे उसको देख रहे हैं? उत्साह है या कुछ और है?
नहीं, लोग वोटिंग कर रहे हैं अब के, और ये लगता है कि वोटिंग परसेंटेज ज्यादा होगा, और वोट आदमी को डालना चाहिए, अपना मत का प्रयोग करना चाहिए, वो करे किसी भी तरफ करे, लेकिन करना चाहिए उसको, क्योंकि ये 5 साल में एक बार आता है, और जब ही आप कोई मुद्दे सोल्व करवा सकते हैं, आपकी जो भी विचारधारा है उस पर आपको वोटिंग करना चाहिए। पक्ष में करो, सत्ता पक्ष में करो, विपक्ष में करो, लेकिन ये एक अच्छी चीज़ है कि हम वोटिंग कर रहे हैं। अगर वोटिंग करेंगे तो हम क्वेश्चन कर सकते हैं फिर
जी। वोटिंग परसेंटेज कैसा? पहले हमने देखा है 14 में, 17 में, 19 में जब बहुत ज्यादा हुआ है तो भाजपा की सरकार चुनकर आई है, बट इस बार खास करके जाट समुदाय के लोग थोड़े नाराज हैं।
ये एक जाति विशेष को पिछले 1 महीने से टारगेट कर रखा, मतलब सब ने पूरा टारगेट कर रखा। ये पूरे देश में एक ही जाति है क्या ये? और किसी को टारगेट कर रखा, इतनी हाईलाइट तो नहीं एक जाति।
इस एरिया में सबसे ज्यादा जाट बाहुल्य क्षेत्र माना जाता है। कहते हैं कि आप ही कहते हैं जिसकी जाट उसकी ठाट।
ना, ये तो एक कहावत बना रखी है, ऐसा नहीं है। और हम कोई जातियां, वो समीकरण ना हमारे पास में है, ना हम इस तरह का कोई संगठन चलाते हैं। हम तो किसानों का संगठन चलाते हैं, और उसमें सारी जातियां हैं।
किसानों को जो किसान कानून थे जिसके खिलाफ आप गाजीपुर पे बैठे रहे, प्रधानमंत्री जी ने वो किसान कानून वापस ले लिया, गृह मंत्री जी ने कुछ आपके समुदाय के लोगों से मुलाकात की, दिल्ली में कुछ बातें उसमें भी की, उसके बाद भी नाराजगी।
कानून एक जाति के तो खिलाफ थे नहीं, ये तो पूरे देश के खिलाफ थे। और करिए एक जाति से बात तो दूसरे वाले तो नाराज होंगे ना, शेख बिरादरी से। भाई कानून सारी जातियों के खिलाफ थे, वे कानून थे कृषि के, और आप बात कर रहे हो एक जाति से, तो टारगेट क्या है एक जाति को बदनाम करने का? तो कोई ना कोई साजिश है ना। हाँ साजिश है, ये तो बड़ी साजिश रची जा रही है।
अच्छा, आपके हिसाब से इस चुनाव में सबसे बड़ा मुद्दा क्या है?
गरीबी का है। गरीब हो रहे, कह रहे कि हम अनाज बांट रहे हैं। भाई देश में जनता गरीब क्यों है? बेरोजगारी, ये बच्चे स्कूल जाना था इनको, स्कूल बंद है, शराब के ठेके खुल रहे हैं।
Well, Arunima now joins us live. Arunima, you're there on ground zero. Since early morning, at least in the first phase, the voter turnout has been steady. But like Rakesh Tikait says, do you expect it to be high this time?
Yes, there are enthusiasm, on both sides. People who are wanting Badlao, they want to turn out in large numbers and vote for Badlao. People who want the incumbent to continue because they believe there is Vikas, they are also turning out in large numbers. And talking about large numbers, Ravinder, just pan and show this car. This is a marriage party which is about to take the Bharat to Deoband from Muzaffarnagar. The Dulha has just cast his vote and gone, the bridegroom. The family members have just asked them to stop here for a bit. They're also in a rush. घर में शादी है, बट वोट से आप लोगों ने समझौता नहीं किया।
जी जी,
सुबह सुबह आ गए वोट देने के लिए। आप भी, मतलब आपके बड़े भाई की शादी है, बताइए कैसे?
मेरे बड़े भाई की शादी है और सबसे पहले उन्हें दिया है, उसके बाद हम आए हैं। तो वो कर चुके हैं वोट अपना, हम कर चुके हैं वोट, और वोट हमारे लिए सबसे पहले ज़रूरी है। तो अपना पहले वोट करें फिर शादी करें।
बिल्कुल सही बात है, पहले वोट करें फिर कोई और काम करें। पूरी गाड़ी भी सज गई है, आपके घर पर भी सारी तैयारियां पूरी हैं।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल बिल्कुल।
बट महिलाओं को तो सजने संवरने में वक्त थोड़ा ज्यादा लगता है, पर घर की महिलाएं भी पहले वोट को प्रेफरेंस दे रही हैं।
जी हाँ, पहले वोट दी जाएगी, उसके बाद रेडी हुआ जाएगा।
Have they already cast their vote? Have they cast their vote already?
मुद्दा महिलाओं की सुरक्षा।
They have आनंद, आप अपनी उंगली दिखाएंगे, मेहंदी के पीछे
दिखाइए उंगली की, भाई सबने वोट डाला है, हमने भी डाला है भाई, यही तो जरूरी है।
The vote has been cast. दिखाइए, just look at that. They've all cast their vote. So they've come here early in the morning. शादी की तैयारियां चल रही हैं, but they put that on hold because वोट देना जरूरी है। मुझे मालूम है आपको बहुत जल्दी है, बस जल्दी से बता दीजिए किस मुद्दे पर वोट?
मैम, डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ थिंग्स हैं। वुमेन सेफ्टी है, जो कि पहले यहाँ पे नहीं थी, जो अब बढ़ती जा रही है। यहाँ पे डेवलपमेंट है, रोड की ट्रांसपोर्टेशन है, रात में मार्केट में जाया जा सकता है, पहले नहीं जाया जा सकता था। ये सब चीजें वोट होंगी, हम लोग वोट देंगे जब ही होगा।
मुद्दा आपका क्या सोच के वोट दिया आपने? आपके लिए सबसे जरूरी मुद्दा क्या था?
मुद्दा बस यही है कि डेवलपमेंट हो,
विकास।
जी जी।
आपके लिए सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट मुद्दा क्या था?
सेम है जी, डेवलपमेंट, और लोगों को जो रोजगार नहीं मिलता है, तो लोग जब रोजगार नहीं मिलता है तो क्राइम बढ़ता है शहर में।
रोजगार आपके लिए मुद्दा
जी
है।
हाँ,
ऑल राइट, थैंक यू सो मच। आप लोगों ने वक्त निकाला, वोट दिया और हमारे व्यूअर्स के साथ ये बहुत इंस्पिरेशनल स्टोरी शेयर की कि कितना भी इंपॉर्टेंट काम हो, यू माइट हैव अ लॉट ऑफ इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग्स टू डू, बट कास्टिंग योर वोट इज इंपॉर्टेंट। एंड आई थिंक this is inspirational because it's a cold, foggy winter morning here in Muzaffarnagar, and yet the voter turnout seems to be good, at least in the city seat.
Arunima, thank you so much for speaking to them. As you heard, multiple issues are at play in this election, but one thing that you hear repeatedly in several parts of UP, be it Meerut, which is going to polls in this first phase, or Firozabad, or other regions in Bundelkhand, it is about safety, security and law and order. Let me bring in my guests now. Dr. Kaushal K. Mishra is the BJP spokesperson. Vibhakar Shastri is the Congress spokesperson. Ajit Jha, election and political expert. And Shantanu Gupta, political analyst. Beginning with you, Shantanu. Election after election, we have been hearing about the Jat anger, and then we see the results. But will it be some kind of surprise this time around?
First of all, namaskar to all of you and who are voting in the first phase. I think they should go out and vote. I casted my vote along with my family today in Noida. I casted my vote for a better UP, for a developed UP. Having said that, Jat and different castes are important element, I think, but we failed to, a lot of our commentators failed to recognize that after 2014, after 2017, the boundaries are blurred. Now people are voting outside their caste boundaries, outside their caste consideration, and the new beneficiary voter is developed. So a woman is voting because she got a toilet at home, because she got a gas stove at home, because now she has a better law and order, which was quite a big problem in Western UP. Now they are not rights which were happening at a drop of a hat in Akhilesh Yadav's time or Mayawati's time. So though I think we are still stuck in our old commentary, but pre-2014 commentary.
Yes, Shantanu, so those traditional prisms through which elections have been viewed before 2014 has to perhaps change, because social engineering or other aspects are also changing on ground. Before I bring in the political guest, Ajit Jha, are you in agreement that there has to be a newer way of analyzing election? The reference points that were there before 2014 has to change.
Well, you know, one very important reason why 2022 assembly election is totally different from all elections held before is because you had this more than 1 year long farmer agitation. One of the hubs was Western UP other than Punjab and Haryana. Now that becomes a real X factor in explaining the mandate, in explaining the nature of anti-incumbency. We keep talking about Jat factor, but it could be the farmer factor. Now, it is true that the middle and large peasantry in this area, the sugarcane farmers, are largely Jats, but don't forget many other sort of OBC castes and Dalit castes constitute both farm laborers and small farmers. So, in trying to understand this new mandate, that is the very important change compared to every other election.
There you go, Lieutenant General VK Singh. Lieutenant General VK Singh, we just have shots of Lieutenant General VK Singh going to cast his ballot. This is Ghaziabad where he is. So he's saying he's going to come out and then talk. In the meantime, as Lieutenant General VK Singh goes in, let's quickly go across to Zakir Jacob and understand. Zakir, Prime Minister Narendra Modi yesterday said that the political lexicon has to change.
Yeah.
He said you've got to do away with the caste, jati, etc. Jo jati nahi hai, wo jati hai. That's you got to change that. And he says we are trying to do sabka saath. And we are seeing that in 2014, 2017, 2019. Is that what you're seeing there?
You know, absolutely. I think taking off from that point that the Prime Minister made, 58 seats in this phase one. Just take a look at the seats where the RLD is fighting. In fact, RLD is fighting in 29 seats, all 29 in this first phase. Remember, RLD is the Jat party, but look at what happened in 2017. Out of the 29 seats, 28 of those seats were won by the BJP. And take a look at this vote share. It's almost 50%. So which means 1 out of 2 voters in this Western UP belt voted for the BJP in 2017. If you were to extrapolate that to the 2019 Lok Sabha, although, you know, it's not comparable, but look at the 2019 Lok Sabha. You had SP, BSP, RLD, Congress all in an alliance, and yet BJP had 23 out of 29, 55% vote share. What the RLD really needs to do is to go back to the playbook of 2012. Look at the 2012 results. Here is where it gets interesting. The RLD won 8 seats with a 30% vote share. The BJP was nowhere in Western Uttar Pradesh in 2013. Only 13% vote share and only 2 seats. Take a look at this entire map. This entire map, one thing is very clear. The RLD needs to go back to winning seats like the way it did in 2012. Not just for itself, but also for the SP alliance. This is not a Yadav belt. Western UP is not a Yadav belt. It's not a Samajwadi stronghold. This is Muslim plus Jat, which is why people are talking about Bhaichara and J&M coming together. But take a look at this belt in 2017. Sweep for the BJP. The only seat the RLD won was Chaparoli, where right now, this election, Jayant Chaudhary is fighting from. That's his native village. That's
Vikas Singh is just spoken. So we come back to this and discuss this in detail and also look at the chief ministerial contenders. But let's listen into what General Singh had said.
सुरक्षा दी है, जो जनता के लिए काम किया है, वही मेन चीज है और उसी के लिए जनता भारतीय जनता पार्टी को वोट देगी। और मेरा अपना मानना है कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी बहुमत से सरकार बनाएगी।
सर, गाजियाबाद बहुत ही अलग तरह की जगह है, अर्बन रूरल का कॉम्बिनेशन है। क्या देखते हैं यहाँ पे? किसान आंदोलन हुआ पिछले दिनों, उसको लेकर कितना फर्क पड़ सकता है?
देखिए, किसान आंदोलन जिन मुद्दों पर था, उससे पूरे पश्चिमी उत्तर प्रदेश में कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता।
प्लीज नीचे करो प्लीज।
ये गन्ना बेल्ट है, गन्ने का भुगतान योगी जी ने मायावती जी के टाइम का भी किया, अखिलेश जी के टाइम का भी किया, अपना भी किया, उसके अलावा और चीनी मिलें खुली, तो ये मुद्दा नहीं है। किसान भी देखता है कि उसको बिजली मिलती है या नहीं मिलती, उसकी किसान सम्मान निधि उसके पास पहुंचती है कि नहीं पहुंचती, और किस प्रकार उसकी देखभाल होती है। तो मानकर चलिए ये सब मुद्दे वो नहीं है जिनसे चुनाव के ऊपर
कोई वोट डालने दो,
कोई मुद्दा नहीं है।
थोड़ा आगे पीछे हो जाओ प्लीज, वोट डालने दो।
So General VK Singh there saying that it is not an issue, hijab, but what is the benefits that have been dropped. So before we take this to our political guests, let's quickly look at our chief ministerial contenders. Who are the people? What's in it for them? One of the biggest aspects is in Uttar Pradesh, the chief minister or a party has hardly ever been repeated. So is Yogi Adityanath going to be able to break the jinx? One aspect is he's got no corruption charges personally against him. So he's got the same or a similar chavi or image like the Prime Minister. The other aspect is he's accused of silencing his dissenters. So that's the weakness where within his own party, he may have a lot of opposition, but has the BJP been able to smoothen that? The opportunity for him is that he can cement himself as the third biggest neta or face in the BJP after Narendra Modi, Amit Shah, and then Yogi Adityanath. Of course, the big threat is the murmurs of dissent within the Brahmin community. But have they been able to tide over that largely? That's the big question. Now, who's the challenger? He's a former chief minister, and this time around, he's tried to carve together another arithmetic, looking at the regional players in Uttar Pradesh itself, and positioning Samajwadi Party as the single largest party in that alliance. Now, he's a former chief minister. He has administrative experience, but has he got his playbook right? That's the big question. Now, that's his strength, that he's got administrative experience and he's governed the state in the past. The weakness is he hasn't been able to expand the base beyond Yadav Muslims. Although this time around, he's made a very, very sincere effort, but has he been able to create an outreach beyond the core voter base of the Samajwadi Party? Remains a big question. The other aspect, the opportunity, will ensure a larger role in 2024. If you won Uttar Pradesh, then you are the single largest face of the opposition. So Mamata Banerjee, Stalin, Arvind Kejriwal, all will have to take a back seat. Akhilesh Yadav becomes the big face. SP still perceived to be a Gunda party. That's the big threat. Mafiawad, Gundawad, and versus Vikaswad. This is going to be the big challenge. Zaka and Maria, we got our political guest, but we also have our Maria.
Yes, Siddhant is joining me live now. Siddhant, how does it look? Have people started turning up? Early morning, it's a winter cold morning, but what about the queue? Because, you know, we often get a sense of how many women turn up early in the morning, that before they, start their cooking for the day, they would rather cast their vote first. Pehle matdan, phir jalpan.
Well, that's correct, Maria. I cannot hear your question properly, but right now I'm reporting from one of the polling booths in Sardana constituency. And Maria, the key issues here at this particular constituency are women's safety, employment, development, and law and order. So these are the four key issues that I have understood after speaking to the voters, those who have come here to cast their votes. And what is also very interesting here is that today this constituency is witnessing foggy morning, cold winter warning. Despite that, people are coming out in large number. Women, men, people from all walks of life are coming out in large numbers to cast their votes. I was traveling, and I saw there were few villages, and the homes in those villages were fully vacant. There was nobody inside, because the entire family has gone to cast votes. So this is a situation here in Sardana constituency. We'll speak to some of the voters if we have time. We'll try to understand the mood. ये बताइए क्या मुद्दे रहेंगे, किन मुद्दों के आधार पर अब आप वोट डालने जा रहे हैं, क्या कुछ क्लैरिटी है मुद्दों को लेकर?
हमारा कोई मुद्दा नहीं है।
आपका कोई मुद्दा नहीं,
लेकिन वोट डालना
आपका क्या मुद्दे रहेंगे चुनाव में?
कोई मुद्दा नहीं है हमारा।
मुद्दा नहीं है, लेकिन उनको बोलिए कि वोट डाल रहे हैं कि नहीं डाल रहे। वोट डाल रहे हैं, दैट इज इंपॉर्टेंट। मुद्दा बताएं, नहीं बताएं,
वोट डालने हैं, वोट डालने हैं, वोट
वोट डाल रहे हैं, that's important.
वोट डालने हैं और जो enthusiasm.
Yes, Siddharth, we just got news coming through. The fact is there are people queuing up to vote, ladies and gentlemen. But one of the faces of this alliance that's challenging the Yogi government is not going to cast their vote. Jayant Chaudhary will not cast his vote today. His constituency or his vote falls in Mathura, but he is busy rallying. So he's picked the poll rally over casting his own personal individual vote. Now, is that sending a message or not? प्राथमिकता कैंपेनिंग के लिए, अपना वोट डालने के लिए नहीं. Could it not have been done? That's the big question. Siddhant is with us. Siddhant, Mathura mein his vote, but Jayant Chaudhary is not going to cast his vote. He's going to campaign.
This very interesting news piece has been flashed by news agency ANI. Anand, we are still verifying on our level, but ANI has flashed that Jayant Chaudhary, RLD chief, is not going to cast his vote today because he is busy at the same time doing one political rally. So this is the news that we are getting at this point in time. So where, Anand, you know, the entire western Uttar Pradesh, the appeal
yes, and apparently Arunima also telling us that Sanjeev Balyan had taken a dig at Jayant Chaudhary, saying that is he a voter in UP at all, and this entire outsider tag and this jab that has happened. So now candidates and strong campaigners are not going to cast their vote.
I think that sends a very, very wrong message. And all the more so because he's fighting the election this time from his home gard of Chaproli. So I'm really surprised why. Maybe his vote is not there. That's fine. But you have to have a vote somewhere.
You could have transferred your vote.
Absolutely.
You could have said it's very easy. You can do it online. And if you had given that importance, is it sending the right message? We can ask our guests also. Dr. Kaushal Kant Mishra is with us, and we also have Vikas Shastri ji with us. Dr. Mishra, how would you see Jayant Chaudhary? His office is saying he will not cast his vote today.
He himself is fighting an election, and he himself is not casting a vote. It is a negative setback, means negative publicity for him, and I think it is not good. He should cast his vote, and then he can do any job, because we have seen that there are few couples before marriage they are casting vote. You have shown that so many people are compromising their job, their certain personal thing, but he is not casting vote is a news for me, and which is not good for our democracy.
Vikas Shastri, 2017 में यूपी के लड़के थे. One was Rahul Gandhi, the other one Akhilesh Yadav. This time, again, there are two ladkas, as what has been said by the BJP repeatedly. But one of them, you know, Jayant Chaudhary, is the player in Western UP. This is the belt where he belongs to. And what kind of message is he sending by not himself going to the polling booth to cast his vote?
Good morning, Maria. Good morning to all my co-panelists. And good morning to the Festival of Democracy, as we are witnessing the pollings in Uttar Pradesh and in the coming state elections, in 5 state elections. Before I come to your point, I like to begin with saying that in the last 3 days, the Honorable Prime Minister has only spoken about Congress party. So there is a perceived threat to the BJP from the Congress.
But Mr. Shastri, ये जो अभी जिस फेस का चुनाव है, जिस फेस का चुनाव है जिसकी हम बात कर रहे हैं, पहले आप भी अलायंस में थे सपा के साथ, आज आरएलडी है अलायंस में सपा के साथ, लेकिन जो उनके मुखिया हैं, जो जयंत चौधरी हैं, अगर वो वोट नहीं देते हैं, तो ये तो आप अपने कार्डर और सपोर्टर्स को मैसेज भेज रहे हैं कि ये चुनावी अहमियत नहीं रखता.
Absolutely right, absolutely right. बिल्कुल ठीक कह रही हैं आप, बिल्कुल ठीक कह रही हैं. It's absolutely correct. It sends a very wrong message. As I was just watching on your show only, people who were going for wedding, the dulha and the bridegroom, everyone was there. They went to the polling station, they voted, and then they are going for other works. So I think Jayant should have done the same thing. Unfortunate that he's not voting.
And
it's
as expected, the BJP has commented on it. Sanjeev Balyan, in fact, took a dig at Jayant Chaudhary. Let's listen in.
जयंत चौधरी जी यहाँ पर लगातार आपके विरोध में मतलब समाजवादी पार्टी के साथ जुड़े हैं आज, लेकिन वो यहाँ नहीं है. वो कह रहे हैं वो प्रचार में ज्यादा व्यस्तता है. कैसे देखते हैं आप इसको?
बड़े नेता हैं, दूर दूर तक प्रचार करना, हेलीकॉप्टर से प्रचार करते हैं। अब हमें तो यहीं पैदा हुए, यहीं रहना है, अब हमारा उनका क्या मुकाबला, हम तो छोटे से किसान हैं, जमींदार हैं।
साथ होने की मतलब गुंजाइश दिख रही है, जैसे कि गृह मंत्री जी ने कहा है कि आप गलत घर चले गए हैं।
वो उन्होंने ठीक कहा, चूंकि अखिलेश यादव का व्यवहार बहुत गलत रहा है पश्चिम उत्तर प्रदेश को लेकर, उसी संबंध में उनका इशारा था। और साथ होना नहीं होना, मैं कार्यकर्ता, मेरे यहाँ राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष और लोग निर्णय लेते हैं, मैं उस निर्णय प्रक्रिया का ऐसा नहीं हूँ।
So again, the outsider dig very strongly being made by Sanjeev Balyan. But why is Jayant Chaudhary not giving primacy to his vote? Well, we'll ask him that. But आप जाइए उंगली कीजिए if your vote is here in any of the 58 assembly seats that go to the ballot today in phase 1 in Uttar Pradesh. We're going to take a very short break. Stay with us.
कुछ अलग सोचता है?
कुछ बदलाव नहीं है मैम। सबसे मेन चीज़ है कि युवा पढ़ाई लिखाई करता है, इसलिए करता है कि हमें कोई रोज़गार मिले, लेकिन हमारी डिग्रियां डिप्लोमा अलमारियों में पड़ी सड़ रही हैं, कोई जॉब कुछ है नहीं। सबसे मेन चीज़ है यहाँ का विकास इतनी तेज़ी से चल रहा है कि मैं खुद जेवर गवर्नमेंट ITI से ITI कर रहा हूँ। मेरा सन 2018 का बैच है, अब 22 चल चुकी है। तो आप सोचिए, जो 2 साल का कोर्स है, 4 साल तक तो मैं बराबर पेपर दे रहा हूँ।
बहुत सारे मुद्दे गिना रहे थे कि यहाँ पे रोजगार का
बेरोजगारी है, विकास है। इन्होंने देखो, जो हमारी सरकार है रोजगार के मामले में तो बहुत पीछे। विकास कुछ हद तक इन्होंने किया है, ठीक किया है, लेकिन अगर बात करते हैं इनके जो प्रत्याशी थे, जो जीते हुए प्रत्याशी हैं, उन्होंने यहाँ हमारे यहाँ कोई विकास नहीं किया। वो तो केवल अपने गांव के इर्द गिर्द, उनका गांव है रघुपुरा के नजदीक, उन्होंने केवल वहाँ विकास किया है, अपने यहाँ केवल लोकल में।
विधायक से आप नाराज हैं?
बहुत अच्छी तरह से नाराज।
मुख्यमंत्री और प्रधानमंत्री?
मुख्यमंत्री तो बहुत अच्छा है, योगी बाबा जैसा मुख्यमंत्री शासन के लिए बहुत अच्छा है।
You know, they're all saying that employment is an issue, and they're also saying that there is an issue of Vikas, but at the same time, what they are saying is that as far as the Chief Minister and the Prime Minister is concerned, they don't have any specific complaint from the leadership, but they are very aggrieved with the choice of candidate of their local constituents.
Jewar International Airport, the project that has brought this sleepy hamlet in Gautam Budh Nagar to the world stage. The airport seeks to be Asia's largest and the 4th largest in the world.
इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर हमारे लिए राजनीति का नहीं, बल्कि राष्ट्र नीति का हिस्सा है। भारत के उज्जवल भविष्य की एक जिम्मेवारी है।
At Jewar, the airport is the primary talking point. Residents are hopeful that the project will bring them greater metro connectivity to big cities like Noida, Delhi. But at the main bazaar of Jewar, these youngsters who are taking coaching classes for various competitive exams are more concerned about employment opportunities that the airport project could usher in.
टाउन में नौकरी जॉब है ही नहीं, कहीं भी कोई फील्ड जॉब देता ही नहीं है। अगर 100 जॉब निकलेंगी तो 1 लाख फॉर्म भरे जाते हैं, कहाँ से नंबर आएगा? बेरोजगारी सबसे बड़ा मुद्दा है, क्योंकि हम तो चाहते हैं कि हमारी गवर्नमेंट जॉब हो, हमारा फ्यूचर सिक्योर हो।
जो भी लोकल हैं इन सबको रोजगार मिलेगा, बहुत चीज़ें बढ़ेंगी और बहुत ज़्यादा ये रोजगार के माध्यम भी बढ़ेंगे। यहाँ पे
धनकौर में वीवो कंपनी है, वो हमारे लोकल ने लेती नहीं है, ऐसे ये कर देंगे। जब 300 किलोमीटर के दूर के निकाल करने ले रहे हैं, अगर यहाँ एयरपोर्ट आ जाएगा तो एयरपोर्ट आने के बाद फिर हमें नौकरी क्यों नहीं मिलेगी?
जो यहाँ पे कंपनी आएंगी, इंडस्ट्री आएंगी, सब में तो वैकेंसी की ज़रूरत होगी।
जब से प्रोजेक्ट एयरपोर्ट का आया है हमारे जेवर कस्बे में, जब से बाहरी लोग यहाँ पर निवेश करने लगे हैं, जिसके कारण ज़मीनों में उछाल आया है।
While locals are looking at the Jewar airport project to change their lives for the better, compensation received for the land is a sore point. Ajay Pratap Singh at the Dayanatpur village rummages through the bricks of what was once his house. Today it is the site for the boundary wall of the Jewar airport. Singh claims that the compensation received in lieu of his land is inadequate.
हमारे मकानों को बिना समय दिए, बिना नोटिस दिए हमारे मकानों को, गांव को तोड़ दिया गया। जहां हमें बसाया गया है, पानी की सुविधा नहीं, बिजली की नहीं, कोई सुविधा नहीं है। हम लोग ग्रामीण थे, आज आप भी देख रहे हैं ग्रामीण वातावरण है, आप रास्ते से आए हैं निकलकर, लेकिन हमें ज़बरदस्ती नगर क्षेत्र बना दिया गया जो कानूनन अवैध है।
यहाँ किसान 1200 गज में मकान बना कर रहता था, 1200 गज में अपना का नाम है मकान भी अपनी भेड़।
Welcome back. So more than 25,000 polling booths are active as 58 seats go to the ballot in phase 1 of the Uttar Pradesh elections. So let's try and bring in Alexa. I'm going to call the two robots. Come on. Chalo, kaam pe lag jao bhai. Yeah, there you go. These are the key contests, and let's try and understand these seats which are going to be fought. The first contest is in Kairana, the big pike fight, where you have Nahid Hassan, who's going to contest against Mriganka Singh. Both of them have cases against them, but Nahid Hassan is seen as the big gangster in the mix. He is a sitting MLA of Kairana. There was a lot of controversy. They had even fielded his sister's name as an independent candidate, but eventually it is him. Then we've got Muzaffarnagar. Kapil Dev Agarwal is a sitting MLA and also minister in the Yogi government. And he is up against a businessman with no criminal cases who's been fielded by the RLD. And that is Saurabh. So in this fight again, the challenge is for Kapil Dev Agarwal to retain his seat. Will that happen in the Muzaffarnagar story? You have also Sardhana, which is again a key contest where you have Sangeet Som. Once again, controversial BJP minister, firebrand leader, and Atul Pradhan. We just were talking about Mriganka Singh. She's speaking with Arun Dhanta.
BJP's hand.
We have seen that Union Home Minister Amit Shah was here doing door-to-door campaign, and Yogi Adityanath minister was also here. And you know, the issues that we have found that BJP has been raising, A, they have brought those people back who have left Kairana, and secondly also the law and order that you have maintained. But on the other hand, if you see Samajwadi Party and RLD combined, they are saying that BJP's politics is to polarize or to divide. How do you respond to that?
Well, this mass exodus of industrialist businessmen was a harsh reality 6 years back, 7 years back. But now, ever since BJP government has come into power in 2017, things have changed dramatically. People are returning here, they are opening their shops, they are opening their business establishments, and they are contented to be back in their own homes.
What are your issues on which you are demanding votes to the people?
Kairana has to look forward to continuous growth and development. So they should vote for BJP.
They should vote for BJP. And also apart from that, we are seeing that the last 2 times when you contested from here, you lost with a close margin. What different you've done this time around which makes you confident of winning?
Well, the BJP government that has been in power, the double-engine government that we have, it has impacted the grassroots in the villages, people in the villages also. That is the kind of confidence that I get. I have been campaigning all throughout in the last few weeks. So I thought that people were very enthusiastic to support BJP, and even they are telling me कि रामराजी तो है ये.
People here are saying that it's a family battle between because your father's legacy and the father of your opponents. It's a family battle which they are saying. Who's going to win?
Bharatiya Janata Party is going to win, and I happen to be my father's daughter, and it's a blessing.
And last question, ma'am, what do you want to say to the voters? Because till 9 p.m. we've seen only 9 a.m. only, we've only seen 9% of voting. What do you want to see the voters of Kairana?
They are enthusiastic to support BJP. That's why in this cold weather also they have come out of their houses and literally proved pehle matdan aur fir jalpan.
Are you confident of your victory?
100%.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So that was BJP candidate from Kairana.
Interviewing Mriganka Singh in Kairana. And Kairana is where Amit Shah started his poll campaign this time around. We've been talking about the Jats, but the other important demographic is the Muslims. Take a look at western Uttar Pradesh. The percentage of Muslims is 29%. Almost 1 in 3 voters in western Uttar Pradesh is Muslim. And remember, this time the big question is, will the Muslim vote go en masse to the Samajwadi Party RLD combined, or will the BSP play spoil sport? So let me take a look at the Muslim factor just to run you through the phase 1 seats and where all the Muslim factor is important in these 58 seats of phase 1. In 2017, in these 58 seats, out of the 17 seats that are dominated by Muslims, which is almost a third, in fact, a little over a third, BJP won 14 out of the 17, again at 40% vote share, which is comparable to what they got statewide. The Samajwadi Party had only 23% vote share and just 2 seats, whereas the BSP also had 22% vote share. So essentially, what happened to the Muslim vote in 2017 is it split right down the middle between the BSP getting 22% and the SP getting 23%. If you go back and check in 2012, how did the Muslim vote split in this particular belt? Again, the vote split between the SP and the BSP. In fact, the BSP had more votes than the SP. BSP had 26% vote share and the SP had only 23. But the SP got more seats because this factor, the reverse polarization, as the BJP keeps saying, did not happen in 2012. If BJP could go from 23% vote share to 41 or 42% vote share, double its vote share in 5 years, that's because polarization happened on the Hindu side. Will that continue in 2022? That, I think, will hold the key to the Muslim vote.
That others vote of 20.55%, that is the RLD factor coming in. So that perhaps the counter-polarization votes were split between BJP and RLD.
And this time around, you also have the MIM entering the fray.
True.
And
so one other factor that people keep talking about in this belt is the BSP, because BSP has given tickets to 35% of its tickets has gone to Muslim candidates. So will that be enough to try and take away the Muslim vote? Because remember, the Muslim vote will go en masse or most likely en masse to the SP RLD combined. So if you add just the 23% here and the 20% of the RLD, that's a sure shot 40% plus vote share. But the question is, will the Muslims be, particularly in those seats where the BSP has fielded? And mind you, BSP had 4 seats in this region. In 2012, an election that they lost, they got 4 seats. So in those seats where the BSP has fielded a Muslim candidate, will they be inclined to vote for the BSP, or will they vote lock, stock and barrel with the SP-RLD alliance?
Will it be candidate by candidate voting of the Muslim constituency? Because, Zaka, as you pointed out, a number of these constituencies, Muzaffarnagar, for example, has 43.2%.
Yes.
Muslims.
Yes, absolutely.
Then Meerut, 38.9%. And if the Muslims in these particular constituencies decide to look at the candidates, not the larger narrative that is being built by the political opponents of Yogi Adityanath, that is Samajwadi Party, and Jayant Chaudhary, then we'll be waiting for the...
making a very interesting point, saying that you look at Jati or caste, it's not there only among the Hindus, it's among Muslims in Gujarat. He made a point of Gujarat where he said more than 70 castes. So now if there is a play there also, we don't know how it's going to go. Or is it all going to be, as he said, everybody decides that they want to vote for somebody rising above their individual caste and community considerations. Nikhil Lakhwani is in Govardhan, Brajbhumi. Radhe Radhe, Nikhil, where are you?
Radhe Radhe Anand, we are currently reporting from the Mathura seat. Now, this is one of the rare seats where the contest is between the Bharatiya Janata Party and Congress Party. Congress has fielded their 4-time MLA, Pradeep Mathur, from this particular seat. He has been into the post from 2002 to 2017, but during the Modi and Yogi wave, he was elected out of this particular seat, and also sitting MLA who is a Minister of Power as well in the UP cabinet is also fighting this election. Now the challenge against him is to retain this particular seat. Anti-incumbency is what he's facing. Also you can see these are the visuals from outside one of the booths booth in Mathura city. Now Mathura has close to 18 lakh voters, but this is the particular seat where 4 lakh voters are registered here. They have been coming here since morning 7 a.m. to cast their vote. Let's take a quick view to some of these people. Sir, आप बताइए, ये एक ऐसी सीट है जहां मुकाबला कांग्रेस और भाजपा में मुकाबले का है. किस तरीके से आप आज वोट करने आए हैं, क्या कुछ मुद्दे लेकर के आए हैं?
देखिए, हमारी जो एक सोच है अपनी, वो भाजपा ने जो काम किए हैं उसमें कोई भी ऐसा काम नहीं किया जो गरीब मजदूरों के लिए मतलब कोई सहूलियत मिले. उसमें केवल और केवल एक जात और पात को लेके चले हैं.
ठीक है, सहूलियत नहीं मिली आपको. आपके हिसाब से क्या कुछ मुद्दे हैं जो आज आप जिनको लेकर के वोट करने आए हैं, आप बताइए.
सर, विकास का मुद्दा है और ये सबसे ऊपर मुद्दा है जिसको हम देख रहे हैं.
अच्छा, मथुरा की अगर बात की जाती है, क्योंकि यहाँ जन्मभूमि है कृष्णा जी की, उसको लेकर के विवाद है. मस्जिद का आपको पता है विवाद चल रहा है. आपको लगता है वो एक बड़ा फैक्टर हो सकता है वोटिंग को लेकर के आज के दिन के लिए?
जी, ऐसी तो कोई बात नहीं है, क्योंकि हम लोगों में बहुत भाईचारा है यहाँ और ये कोई ज्यादा बड़ा मुद्दा नहीं है और ये बड़े लोगों के लिए उनका निजी फैसला है और जो भी
issue of Krishna Janmabhoomi, Nikhil, has never been the one which is most important. But interestingly, in this region, the Samajwadi Party does not have too much of strength. Largely, the fight has been between the BJP, Congress, BJP, BSP. This is where the play has been. And BJP this time around, Kaushalji, has not won 5-on-5 the last time around. अब की बार 5-on-5 का टारगेट है, but the fight here, if there is any, is not directly with the SP, but with the Congress party and also with the BSP. कौशल मिश्रा जी.
देखिए, कांग्रेस तो कहीं मैदान में ही नहीं है. आप आंकड़ों से देख सकते हैं, पिछले जो रुझान है उनसे देख सकते हैं. जब ये थोड़ी बहुत जो भी फाइट अगर मिल सकती है तो ये दोनों जो कंबाइन हुए उनकी वजह से मिल सकती है, लेकिन उसके बाद भी जिन एरिया में इलेक्शन हो रहा है वहां
पर आप ये भी मानेंगे कि अगर कांग्रेस पार्टी यहाँ पर अपने इंडिविजुअल पॉकेट्स में लोकल नेता, लोकल चेहरे की वजह से अगर इंपैक्ट कर पाती है तो फिर ये उनके लिए इंपॉर्टेंट है. विभाकर जी, विल यू एग्री विद मी कि फर्स्ट फेज में व्हाट द कांग्रेस पार्टी डज ऑन ग्राउंड बेस्ड ऑन इट्स ओन इंडिविजुअल कैंडिडेट्स is going to be significant as we move into phase 2, 3, 4 and 5?
Absolutely. See, your reporter only said the fight is between the BJP and the Congress. So, you know, all of you people are not realizing how the Congress party has prepared for the Uttar Pradesh elections, and we have created a new narrative which is being followed by all the parties. If you look at the manifestos being released by the BJP or the SP or any other party, they have all been talking about women empowerment. And right now what we have done, what Priyanka ji has done, she has created a new constituent in the polling pattern of the country, which is the woman. Women going to be a very dominant part of the Indian electorate, and they are being empowered by her
yes,
policies.
But the empowerment
and we have
of women
given 3
can begin only after they feel safe and secure. And when you speak to women, particularly in this belt, Mr. Shastri, they do talk about safety and security, and that is primary first, and then all the talks of ladki hu, lad sakti hu and other aspects can come in. I'm going to bring in Shantanu first.
But the other challenge, and Zaka is there. No, Vibhakar ji, see, there is an absolute number challenge also. You have to beat the SP, BSP, RLD to rise above them and then challenge the BJP. And when is it that they've gone into double digits?
I just want to show the Agra-Mathura belt, because we tend to sort of forget that, you know, in this whole Jat-Muslim combine, we tend to forget that there is a huge presence of Dalits as well. So you take just Agra and Mathura, it's about 13 seats. Of course, in 2017, the BJP swept. They got almost 50% vote share here. The BSP was number 2. 24% vote share. Not a bad vote share for a party that ended up as number 3 party statewide. In fact, the BSP won 1 seat out of this 13. This is the Agra-Mathura belt. But go back to 2012 and take a look at that same region, those same 13 seats. It was the BSP that was the number 1 party. 30% vote share. A huge chunk. In fact, all of Uttar Pradesh, the highest concentration of Dalits is in the Agra belt. So, where will that vote go? Not the Jatav Dalit. Yes, you can divide the Jatav and non-Jatav Dalits almost 50-50 as far as Uttar Pradesh is concerned. This remaining 50% of non-Jatav Dalits, will they come back to Mayawati, or will they go to the BJP as they did in 2017? There's no way the BJP could have won this belt without a significant chunk of that non-Jat of Dalit siding with the BJP. You don't get to 50% vote share just on, you know, upper caste Hindu vote. You need more than that. And I think that's where the BJP's outreach to Dalits, particularly the non-Jat of Dalits, that's why they swept in 2017. Can they maintain that?
That aspect of Dalits is more to do with class here, which turned out in 2019 and also in 2017, because 2017 elections were held after the 2016 demonetization move. So there was that sense of class.
In Agra, for example, they have brought back Baby Rani Maurya, who was the governor of Uttarakhand. And there is talk, I don't know, I mean, I'm not an expert, but there is talk that if they sweep this belt, if there is evidence that the Dalit vote, the non-Jat of Dalit vote is still with the BJP, she might even be in contention for a very big post in the Yogi government.
But see, but the case in point of party we were talking to, as Vikas Shastri was speaking, was Congress party. See, 7% in 2012, 4.87%. So you've got a mountain to climb, even in getting into double digits.
Correct.
And it's
for
been
seat conversion.
More than a decade and a half that you've not crossed a double-digit vote share. As a case in point for the Congress party, and we'll make that case with vote shares too. But for the moment, we're going to take a very, very short break. Stay with us.
Bhadana tries to cash in on. Campaigning in the Chiroli village, Bhadana promises better compensation for land and redressal of the issues of farmers.
भडाना जी, आप यहाँ घूम रहे हैं पूरे क्षेत्र में, सबसे बड़ा मुद्दा आपके हिसाब से जेवर की जनता के लिए इस चुनाव में क्या है?
सबसे बड़ा कि यहाँ के किसान और मजदूरों के साथ जुल्म हुए हैं। इस एरिया की ज़मीनें गई, उनके घर उजाड़ दिए गए, उनको ज़मीनों से बेदखल कर दिया गया है कि उनको इस एरिया के 200 किलोमीटर के एरिया का कोई बच्चा यहाँ नौकरी नहीं करेगा। मुझे इन बच्चों के रोज़गार की बात करनी है, मुझे इनके विकास की बात करनी है। यहाँ कुछ भी नहीं है। दिखने को इंटरनेशनल एयरपोर्ट बहुत बड़ी चीज़ है, लेकिन ग्राउंड पर कुछ नहीं।
Sitting BJP MLA Dhirendra Singh counters Bhadana by questioning his credentials. Bhadana has recently come to the RLT-SP combine and to Jewar after representing Mirapur as a BJP MLA earlier. Singh says issues of locals can be taken care of only by the BJP. His main plank that the Yogi government made the Jewar airport a reality, while previous governments only got scams and lawlessness.
जेवर विधानसभा इस वक्त दुनिया का निवेशकों का एक ऐसा डेस्टिनेशन है जहां बहुत तेजी से पिछले 5 साल में विकास हुआ है। प्रदेश में योगी आदित्यनाथ जी को मुख्यमंत्री देखना चाहते हैं, क्योंकि उन्हीं की वजह से आज जेवर विश्व मानचित्र पर आ गया है। अभी एक सीएजी ऑडिट हुआ था नोएडा प्राधिकरण का, तो 50,000 करोड़ का घोटाला मिला। तो ये घोटालेबाज लोग हैं, इन पे मुद्दा तो कुछ और है नहीं। इनके समय में यहाँ से कंपनियां पलायन करने लगी थी, बड़े बड़े उद्योग धंधे।
The constituency though is sharply divided. Right outside the Shamnagar Mandi, where Dhirendra Singh campaigned, a fight broke out between RLD and BJP supporters.
ये तो बीजेपी वाले तो न्यू कहे हैं कि चीन और पाकिस्तान, हिंदू और मुसलमान और बुरकी मार है मंदिर की। जो ठोस मुद्दा है महंगाई और बेरोजगारी, उसकी चर्चा नहीं है, उससे तो ध्यान हटका हुए हैं।
यह वह क्षेत्र है जेवर जहाँ रात को लाइटें नहीं थी, जहाँ दंगा होता था। आज की डेट में वो दंगा या तो जेलों के भीतर है या उन्हें इस दुनिया से समाप्त कर दिया है, और वो किया है केवल योगी जी ने। मैं भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार में 2017 के बाद 3 बार पुलिस के एग्जाम दे चुका। मेरा नंबर नहीं आता, उसमें मेरी गलती है। सरकार बाइज्जत रोजगार निकाल रही है और कोशिश करती है कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा रोजगार दें।
The Jewar airport will service all of western Uttar Pradesh, from Noida to Bulandshahr, Mathura, Agra, Ghaziabad and Meerut. While BJP showcases the airport and with it Yogi government's commitment to Vikas, the largely agrarian belt in these parts debate if the kisan is getting his due.
नाराजगी की वजह यह है कि किसानों के लिए कुछ ये करना पाए 5 साल वो सरकार चलाने के बाद, जो समय पे जो फसल आवे उसकी बिक्री नहीं हो।
कोई कुछ फायदा नहीं, रोजगार नहीं, भर्ती नहीं, कुछ क्या फायदा है बताओ तुम।
Welcome back. back, a piece of breaking news coming in now from the Apex Court. The Supreme Court has refused to urgently list a petition seeking transfer of the petitions from the Karnataka High Court examining the permissibility of hijab in schools and colleges where a particular uniform is prescribed. Remember, a constitution bench has been set up, which is a 3-judge bench, which will be looking at the issues from the larger permissibility angle, deciding between whether it's a question of individual liberty, about right, or what is institutional sanctity. Harish Upadhyay is joining me on the phone line. Harish, who really approached the Apex Court?
Well, Kapil Sibal had approached the Apex Court, and rightly the Supreme Court has said that when the Karnataka High Court, which just last night has declared the larger bench which will hear this case, the Chief Justice of Karnataka High Court will be sitting on this bench, has taken up this matter. The Supreme Court has refused to entertain this plea. We do understand that all parties involved yesterday, in fact, told us they wouldn't be approaching the Supreme Court because this is still under the consideration of the Karnataka High Court, one. Second, already a fair bit of arguments have happened in the Karnataka High Court in front of Justice Krishna Dikshit. So time is also of importance here. So none of the parties wanted to waste time once again approaching the Supreme Court and starting the arguments all over again. So all parties now hoping that this argument that will start before the 3-judge bench will in a way be continuing from where they left yesterday in front of Justice Krishna Dikshit. And they are hoping that there could be an intermodal soon.
Yes,
because
but
all
Harish,
parties understand.
When you say Mr. Sibal has approached the Apex Court, the question is, has the Congress party become a party in this case, or is he petitioning on the behalf of pro-hijab activists?
Well, looks like he is appearing for someone who is pro-hijab because the Congress party in Karnataka has decided to back the students, but they've said that they will wait for the court to decide on this matter. And probably that is also something as a stance the Congress would have taken nationally, one. Second, we've already seen other lawyers with political affiliation fighting the case in this particular Karnataka High Court writ petition also. Vikas Kamath also has political affiliation. So this is something that we've seen already in this case, and probably it's a continuation of that. The Congress party here very guarded. Initially, they did not want to back the students or comment on the matter, but when it became a national issue, they backed the students. Okay. But at the same time, you haven't seen the organization on ground hitting and backing these students or doing any protest. They are still maintaining that they will wait for the court to decide on this, and then see how the government implements that order.
All right. So the Apex Court saying that there is no need to urgently list this matter because this issue is being decided by a 3-judge constitution bench of Karnataka High Court. Shifting focus to our top story, where 58 constituencies of 403 in the 403-member UP Assembly is going to polls.
Well, thank you for staying with us here at CNN News 18, your election news headquarters, and we're getting you news. This is Akhilesh Yadav, who's just tweeted, and he says, "Naye UP ka naya nara, Vikas hi vichardhara. Development will become the ideology." Phase 1 polls underway. Akhilesh Yadav has turned around and tweeted. He says, "Naye UP ka naya nara and Vikas hi vichardhara." He spent a fresh slogan for the Uttar Pradesh. Is it a fresh slogan? That's the big question. Development plank is something that the BJP has owned since 2014. And everybody now is talking Vikas and saying Vikas hi vichardhara hogi. Pranshu Mishra, our UP Bureau Chief, is live with us. Pranshu, how is this any different? How is this any different from what the BJP has already been talking about?
Anand, development is not a new agenda. We all know that Prime Minister Modi and UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath is banking a big time on what they call the double engine growth phenomena and the development work that has been done over the period of past 5 years. The reason why Akhilesh Yadav is tweeting this particular slogan today, I think it's a two-way thought process on his mind. One, we saw him yesterday, day before yesterday, launching his manifesto, which he said is the real manifesto, is the true socialist manifesto, a manifesto which is aimed towards development. And the second point, I think, is that the crucial belt of West UP, which is now is presently underway, where the polling is underway. The biggest concern on the mind of SPRLD is that by the end of the polls, there is no, attempted polarization, or the communal polarization doesn't take place. That is what the biggest concern is, and I think that's the reason why even on this crucial day, through this tweet, Akhilesh Yadav is trying to remind his voters, his supporters, that ultimately the idea they have to vote for is a change, a development, which according to the BJP was, has just been a lie during the BJP government, and only the true development could be delivered by the Samajwadi Party. So I think the timing of this message is also important. The debate about development is not new. Whose development it is actually going to be endorsed by the people of Uttar Pradesh, that needs to be seen.
But ये उल्टा तो नहीं पड़ेगा Pranshu, because largely people would come out and support, and this is what you would have also seen on ground, कि हम विकास के लिए वोट दे रहे हैं is an indicator that they are going to back the BJP. So is this going to confuse the voter? Is Akhilesh Yadav confusing the voter now?
Well, that could be one argument, but I think what Akhilesh Yadav is probably trying to do is to ensure that the way that this election has not been seen as a communal election, at least in Western Uttar Pradesh, and that has been a significant, difference from the past, 2014, 17 and 2019. I think Akhilesh Yadav wants to ensure that mood continues all through this, through the day today, and therefore probably he has put forward this tweet. There could be no other reason to explain this, because we all know that development is not a new agenda, and if you talk purely about the development issue, then I think BJP clearly has more cards up its sleeves, because they have this double engine, the dynamics to prove that development is a much more stronger domain when it comes to Bharatiya Janata Party. They have owned this
development plank. Now, whether they've delivered on it, that's what the voter is going to decide. But the fact is, this plank has been owned by them for the last at least 7 years. But one can only say, "De raha hai durust hai." If all political parties say कि विकास ही मुद्दा होगा जिस पर चुनाव लड़ेंगे, fantastic. Charu Pragya of the BJP with us, Anuma Acharya of the Congress Party with us, Inderjeet Singh, senior leader of the RLD with us, Shantanu Gupta stays on, Dr. Nalin Mehta also with us. So let's get the apolitical voices in quickly. Nalin Mehta ji, Vikas hi vichardhara. Ideally, for every political party, Vikas should be the only ideology.
Yes, and I think what Akhilesh is doing is he's trying to remind his voters about the core message that he has, where he's, which you were just discussing as well. I think Prime Minister Modi set the agenda last night with his interview, where he repeated some of the core messaging of the BJP around law and order, around dynastic politics, around reminding people of what the Akhilesh Yadav government earlier was, and talking about Rahul Gandhi and about Do Ladke. Today also Mr. Modi has tweeted, so has Amit Shah, so has Akhilesh Yadav. I think that's par for the course. Both parties are trying to put their best foot forward. But fundamentally, this election, I think this phase 1 is really important, because chunav hawa se bhi banta hai. And this Western UP, phase 1 and phase 2 is the place where SP has not traditionally been strong, and this is the place which has been the epicenter of the farmer agitation and the Jat moves by an RLD, and so therefore I think this election, this particular phase is highly important. And now
Nalin, hold your thoughts. We've just got Ikra Hassan speaking with Arun Dhanta.
Nahid Hassan's sister Ikra Hassan with us. Ikra, how confident you are for the victory of your brother?
I'm very confident. We are seeing a positive turnout and everyone is excited to vote against the current government.
BJP is saying, because we have spoken to Mriganka Singh as well, she's very confident, saying that BJP has maintained the law and order. Everything which they have done here will work for them.
I don't know what law and order they are talking about, because according to various NCRB reports, the crime against women has increased, against girls have increased, against the OBCs, against the SC/STs, the crime rate has only increased. So I don't know what law and order they're talking about.
What are the issues on which you're going to people asking for votes?
issue is of development, of employment. So those are the main issues. We have the exodus issue that the BJP is talking about is not an issue on ground. The main issue is of development.
Samajwadi Party alleged, in fact they tweeted that there are few booths where people were sent back and were not allowed to vote. What do you have to say? What happened exactly?
See, that is what our apprehension was. We have given them some booth numbers that we doubted they would misuse their state machinery for. So we're just scared that they might use their state machinery for the benefit of their own party, and that's why we filed some complaints and we're working on it.
We are seeing that you're visiting different booths. What is your assessment? What you found? Even just now you were inside. Everything is going smooth, and how's the polling and all?
We're getting some complaints, so I'm just going around checking if everything's going on smoothly, and it's just a election round, that's it.
Any appeal that you want to make to the voters?
Yes, my main appeal today would be to come out and vote. I would request everyone to come out and vote, to increase the voter percentage, to increase the voter turnout, and to vote for the betterment of the state.
Thank you so much. So that was Ikra Hassan talking to CNN News 18.
But Shantanu Gupta, the champion, everybody is talking about Vikas now. Every party is now putting out tweets saying Vikas के लिए वोट दें, development के लिए वोट दें, जिस पर delivery नहीं हुई है उसके लिए वोट दें.
Anand, you're right. I think as I was telling in the previous segment, after 2014 in all over India and 2017 in UP, the grammar of politics and political commentary have completely changed. That's why when I see too much of Jat, Tyagi, Brahman, I'm saying, okay, that's part of the commentary, but a very minuscule part of the commentary. The commentary is a new beneficiary vote. The women folks are voting because there's a better law and order. The women folks are voting because 2.6 toilets are being made. Women folks are voting because 1.5 crore gas connection and Anand, you were with me when I was in Boston. I was on a 3 weeks US tour, and people were like tracking everything of UP's development back there in US. So I think this election has taken almost a global form, and the petty issues the Samajwadi Party is talking about are not finding resonance at the ground.
Yes, Nalin Mehta, when you talk about the new BJP, I've been reading your book. It talks about facets that the party has acquired. And would you say that in this election, the three leaders are talking different issues? You have the Prime Minister talk about the larger double engine or development. You have Yogi Adityanath focusing on Hinduism, Hindutva, and also development, what he has delivered. And there is Amit Shah focusing on OBC consolidation, the social engineering that we keep talking about, that other parties have done, which the BJP has done as well.
Yes, Maria. I think the BJP's success in in 2019, including the 27 triumph, were built on 3 or 4 crucial factors. It wasn't just built on Hindutva. As one of the leaders told me in Yogi Adityanath's office, Hindutva to gati deta hai, paiya to welfare hai. There were 4 or 5 key factors. The first was a complete new social engineering and bringing new caste into the tent, non-Yadav OBCs and non-Yadav Dalits. The second was a massive new kind of social welfareism built on direct benefit transfers. On Swachh Bharat, for example, 17 million toilets were built. These were personal toilets which changed the lives of women. The kind of housing that was built under PM Awas Yojana, in which 68% women, houses were registered in the names of either women individually or with their husbands. That is a huge shift, and they were built by money transfers into the bank account, not like schemes of the old where the government would build something and it wasn't useful and people didn't move. Finally, of course, Hindutva is a key factor. So what the BJP the point is that the BJP has not been a one-trick pony, if you like. Yes. When it advanced, when it made these advances in the Hindi heartland and UP in particular. Yes. So what you are referring to about Amit Shah's focusing on the caste thing, or Prime Minister Modi speaking on the double engine sarkar, and Yogi Adityanath speaking on one thing, this is a combination of things that the BJP brings together. And
so that is what we have been discussing, Nalin, that the old reference points, old lexicon has to change. while viewing these states, because that is what is happening. You cannot say that the BJP has not done social engineering. The party has been emphasizing on the OBC representation in Prime Minister Modi's Council of Ministers, the OBC representation in Yogi Adityanath Council of Ministers, and here is Zaka now.
No, so this is the CSDS post-poll survey from 2019 election. Take a look at this figure. I'm going to just break down the caste-wise sort of analysis. 90% of Jats voted for the BJP. 90%. How far will that fall? Even if it comes down by half, that's still 50% Jats for BJP and 50% for the other the alliance. But Yadav Muslim, no surprises here. 60% of Yadavs voted for SP alliance, and 73% of the Jatav Dalits voted for the BSP. Look at the other SCs, and I think this is a very significant factor. The non-Jatav Dalits. 50% of the non-Jatav Dalits voted for the BJP. For Mayawati, it was less than that. It was only 42%. And then this is the thing that the BJP keeps talking about, non-Yadav OBCs, the other OBCs other than the Yadavs. 76%, 3 out of 4 non-Yadav OBCs voted for the BJP, only 16% for the alliance. And I think that's where the social engineering really has come to the fore for the BJP. The other OBCs, the non-Yadav OBCs and the non-Jatav Dalits. And there is evidence to show how the BJP has socially engineered those communities.
Let's bring it to the first phase, Zaka, and let's look at the sugarcane belt, because every party is talking about Ganna Kisan and the Bhugtan.
Yeah.
So in the sugarcane belt, how have these parties fared? And is it going to be a big challenge? See, Charu Pragya is with us from the BJP. She is aware and what happens in Bagpat. She should be with us. Anuma Acharya and Inderjeet Singh is there. But then the sugarcane belt first up. Can we set it up?
So the sugarcane belt is largely in the northwestern side of Uttar Pradesh. Some of those seats are voting today. Some of those are voting in the second phase. But in 2017, I mean, this famous thing, yahan pe ganna hai, not jinnah. In 2017, out of the 44 seats, the BJP won 27, so a little more than half, at about 36% vote share. Remember, their statewide vote share was 40%. Here, it's slightly lower. The SP and the Congress, and mind you, the Congress has done well in this belt in the past. The Congress has 20% votes, so 1 in 5 voters, even in 2012, when the Congress had only 7 seats, 1 in 5 voted for the Congress. The SP had 24% vote share, so a quarter of the vote went to the Samajwadi Party. But this belt, in 2012, if you look at the Ganna Kisan belt, it was entirely taken over by the SP and the BSP. Again, the vote split. BSP got a quarter of the votes, SP got a quarter of the votes. So if you look at the number of seats that they got, 16 seats to SP, 12 seats to BSP. BJP had only 9 seats and 18% vote share. From 18%, they doubled it in 2017 from 18% to 36%. Where have those votes come from? Those votes have come from the Ganna Kisan. Those votes have come also at the cost of the BSP. Remember, the BSP was the second largest party in this belt in 2012. In an election that the BSP lost, that quarter of the vote that the BSP got in 2012, a bulk of that went to the BJP in 2017. And I'm willing to bet that a bulk of that was also non-Jatav Dalits.
True, a lot of erosion which has also happened with all the parties. We'll try and track that over the years. Where have the votes transferred or moved towards the BJP from, and who's lost the most? But the challenge this time around, Inderjeet Singh ji, is Charu Pragya is also with us. Charu Pragya, Ganna Kisan ka Bhugtan. That's something which all parties are talking about. 15 days, 14 days, yes. The commitment.
Anand, good morning. Let me begin by first making an appeal to all the voters of Western Uttar Pradesh. If you haven't voted already, kindly do so, because this is the festival of democracy. We are very lucky. We get to play a role in government formation in our country. So please go out and vote if you haven't done so already. Coming back to your question now, Anand, I want to say one thing. First of all, the issue of sugarcane farmers has been prevalent in Western Uttar Pradesh for the longest time, and the reason for that is the bad policies which were made by the previous government. The reason for that is also the fact that the previous government allowed the mill owners to swindle away money which rightfully belongs to the sugarcane farmers, and our party has gone a long way in governance to get rid of that one issue. As you're aware, over the last 5 years, we've paid hundreds of crores, actually lakhs of crores of rupees to sugarcane farmers. And in fact, in this manifesto, we have also said that we will be putting in interest on mill owners if the sugarcane payment does not come within 14 days. And that's a step towards making sure farmers live comfortable lives, and it's a very important one. But like I said, it's not something which we haven't paid attention to earlier. I'm in fact right now in Western Uttar
But there
Pradesh
is still the talk of
caste
outstandings remaining to the tune somewhere near thousands of crores for about more than 40 lakh sugarcane farmers who are saying that there is still outstanding remaining. Some of it has been cleared, but the process has been very, very slow and trying. But will ethanol change it for the Ganna Kisan, giving them another option beyond just the chini mills? We'll have to see. But we're talking about the vote shares, ladies and gentlemen. Where has the shift happened and how is the transition happened? So there you go. The arms come back again, and then you're drawing the line. Ye rekha kheench di. Ab now here it comes up. Let's try and see. Over the years, the BJP, how it's progressed, where it has moved. And if you were to track the progress of the BJP year after year or election after election, they were somewhere at just about 17%. From 17%, they've moved 18, 15, and then 2014, the Lok Sabha 2014 elections. Look at that jump which has happened. This is the triple-fold jump which the BJP has happened for the BJP in 2014. And from there on, they have consistently tried to consolidate it. It slipped down by about 2% in 2017. But after that, in 2019, it's gone up and touched 50%. 50% vote share is no mean achievement for a party in 12 years. 2007, they were at 17%, and they have come nearly threefold in 12 years' time. From 2007 to 2019, they've jumped threefold. But at whose cost? Let's look at that. Who was ruling the roost in 2007? The BSP. Where is the BSP in 2019? At 19%. So they're nearly down 11%. Look for the Samajwadi Party. From 25%, the Samajwadi Party slipped 15%. So this is the story. But look at the Congress Party story. The Congress Party, for the last, not just till 2019, now 2022. So since 2007, the Congress Party in Uttar Pradesh has not entered double-digit vote share. In Uttar Pradesh, the Congress Party has remained below double-digit vote share, except for in 2009, when in the Lok Sabha elections, they had 19% vote share. But otherwise, they have consistently slipped from 2009 onwards. 2012, they got 12%, and then it's 7, 6, and 6. So except for 2012 and 2009, where they managed to get into double digit, they have slipped. This is the big challenge for the Congress Party. If they really want to become a force to reckon with, they will have to get back to at least their 2009 number in this election, near about 20%, to stand up there and say, ahead of Lok Sabha 2024, that we are an opposition and a force to reckon with. Short break, and we take this conversation forward.
Ghaziabad and Meerut. While BJP showcases the airport and with it Yogi government's commitment to Vikas, the largely agrarian belt in these parts debate if the Kisan is getting his due.
नाराजगी की वजह यह है कि किसानों के लिए कुछ ये करना पाए 5 साल वो सरकार चलाने के बाद जो समय पे जो फसल आवे उसकी बिक्री नहीं हो
कोई कुछ फायदा नहीं रोजगार नहीं भर्ती नहीं कुछ क्या फायदा है बताओ तुम
पिछली बार मुझे याद है 17 में 14 में 19 में मोदी जी जो भी वादे करते थे योगी जी जो भी वादे करते थे युवा वर्ग उसको बहुत अच्छे से लेता था उनको लगता था यही आपके लिए सही है अब क्या युवा वर्ग की सोच में कुछ बर्ताव आ गया है कुछ अलग सोचता है
कुछ बदलाव नहीं है मैम सबसे मेन चीज़ है कि युवा पढ़ाई लिखाई करता है इसलिए करता है कि हमें कोई रोज़गार मिले लेकिन हमारी डिग्रियां डिप्लोमा अलमारियों में पड़ी सड़ रही हैं कोई जॉब कुछ है नहीं सबसे मेन चीज़ है यहाँ का विकास इतनी तेज़ी से चल रहा है कि मैं खुद जेवर गवर्नमेंट ITI से ITI कर रहा हूँ मेरा सन 2018 का बैच है अब 22 चल चुकी है तो आप सोचिए जो 2 साल का कोर्स है 4 साल तक मैं बराबर पेपर दे रहा हूँ
बहुत सारे मुद्दे गिना रहे थे कि यहाँ पे रोजगार का
बेरोजगारी है विकास है इन्होंने देखो जो हमारी सरकार है रोजगार के मामले में तो बहुत पीछे विकास कुछ हद तक इन्होंने किया है ठीक किया है लेकिन अगर बात करते हैं इनके जो प्रत्याशी थे जो जीते हुए प्रत्याशी हैं उन्होंने यहाँ हमारे यहाँ कोई विकास नहीं किया वो तो केवल अपने गांव के इर्द गिर्द, उनका गांव है रघुपुरा के नजदीक, उन्होंने केवल वहाँ विकास किया है, अपने यहाँ केवल लोकल में।
विधायक से आप नाराज हैं?
बहुत अच्छी तरह से नाराज।
मुख्यमंत्री और प्रधानमंत्री?
मुख्यमंत्री तो बहुत अच्छा है, योगी बाबा जैसा मुख्यमंत्री शासन के लिए बहुत अच्छा है।
You know, they're all saying that employment is an issue, and they're also saying that there is an issue of Vikas, but at the same time, what they are saying is that as far as the Chief Minister and the Prime Minister is concerned, they don't have any specific complaint from the leadership, but they are very aggrieved with the choice of candidate of their local constituency.
Jewar International Airport, the project that has brought the sleepy hamlet in Gautam Budh Nagar to the world stage. The airport seeks to be Asia's largest and the fourth largest in the world.
इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर हमारे लिए राजनीति का नहीं बल्कि राष्ट्र नीति का हिस्सा है। भारत के उज्जवल भविष्य की एक जिम्मेवारी है।
At Jewar, the airport is the primary talking point. Residents are hopeful that the project will bring them greater metro connectivity to big cities like Noida, Delhi. But at the main bazaar of Jewar, these youngsters who are taking coaching classes for various competitive exams are more concerned about employment opportunities than the airport project.
यूपी प्लस योगी बहुत है उपयोगी।
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us at your election news headquarters. Maria Shakil, Zaka Jeka with me as we set up Uttar Pradesh phase 1 of polling, 58 seats going to the ballot. More than 25,000 polling booths are seeing an active flow of voters. Jao, bahar jao, vote karke aao, ungli kar is what I would say if your vote is in any of these 58 assembly constituencies. Let's quickly set up what are going to be the big poll issues. Mudda number 1, law and order. Voters feel the state is safer, crime rate lowest in 7 years as per the NCRB. So contrary to what Ikra Hassan was claiming just a short while ago, the numbers show that the crime rate has significantly dropped. There is a significant perception on ground that Uttar Pradesh is safer than it was in the past. Samajwadi Party, the issue is they are still seen as the Gunda Party. And the BJP says it is Kaam Bhi, Lagam Bhi. That's their slogan here around. Whether it's going to resonate with the voter, we'll have to see on ground when they cast the ballot, and the 10th of March will tell us that. The other one is the Kisan anger. After the repeal of the farm laws, does that still remain is the big question. But this is what I was talking about. 40 lakh Ganna Kisans are alleging that 44,000 crores worth of dues is still pending. Bakaya hai abhi 4,000 crore ka. That's what they are saying. Where are you going to give it and when are you going to give it? The bumper crop of potato. Now the price is falling down to just about 6 rupees a kilo from 46. That's why the BJP in his manifesto has said that they will guarantee an MSP or a rate to stabilize the price of potato too, so that farmers don't suffer these kind of losses that they are seeing. The other aspect, caste and religion. Which way will the Jat vote swing? And the non-Jat votes also. Which way will it swing? Will they all rise above their Jati and community and vote for a party they believe will take Uttar Pradesh forward and give them a better future? That's the big question. 91% of the Jat, like Zaka was saying a short while ago, had voted for the BJP in this region, that is Western UP. Of course, Mathura, is that the next Ayodhya? अयोध्या काशी को बनाया है, अयोध्या भी बनाया है, अब मथुरा को बनाएंगे, जो राम को लाए हैं हम उनको लाएंगे. That's the kind of challenge. But on ground on Braj Bhumi, Krishna Janmabhoomi is not the real issue. But will it become one ahead of 2024? We'll have to wait and watch. But as I make my way back, it's over to Zaka Jacob, who's going to take the story forward on the wall.
Talking about that faith, about the temple issue and how the faith factor has helped the BJP over the last many elections, but particularly in this election. So we've taken out the holy cities, as it were. This is Mathura, Vrindavan here. You've got Ayodhya, and then you have Prayagraj, and of course Banaras, which is the Prime Minister's constituency. So these big 4 cities that we've taken out, and see how it has changed over the last 5 years, between 2012 and 2017. Out of those 35 seats, remember in 2017, the BJP won 27 at about 38% of the vote share. The SP was a distant third at 17%. In fact, it was the others with 16%, but more number of seats, and the BSP with 20% vote share that was in the number 3 position. But I want to zero in just on Mathura because that's the city that's going to polls today. Ayodhya, Prayagraj and Banaras vote in the later phases. But just in Mathura alone, out of the 5 seats, and Anand was referring to this, out of the 5 seats, BJP won 4 out of 5 last time around. Let me just bring the district filter on this and you'll get a better understanding of what I'm talking about. Take a look at the Mathura district itself. Out of the 5 seats, BJP won 4. The only other seat was won by the BSP. And this is at almost 50% vote share. The number 2 party is BSP with 22% vote share. And Samajwadi Party had less than 1% vote share in this particular belt. This is 5 seats in Mathura Vrindavan. Samajwadi Party is not a factor at all in this belt. You go back and check 2012, it's a slightly different story, because the main city seat of Mathura was actually won by the Congress. Then the BSP had 1 seat. The rest of the 3 seats were swept by the RLD. The question is, can the RLD bring back that vote in this belt? Because they were at 45% vote share in 2012. That entire vote share of the RLD in this belt went off to the BJP. The question is, will that split? If that splits, then how does the seat proportion work?
And what happens now in Muzaffarnagar, where Arunima is? Arunima, how does it look? 4.5 hours now. People have started queuing in. You have got us some good voices from the ground. The emphasis on going out and casting the vote.
There is a steady stream of voters in the Muzaffarnagar city as well. Right behind me, you see Rakesh Tikait has come in with his entire family, his wife, his daughter-in-law, son, granddaughter. They're all here. They've come to the city seat to cast their vote. The main Tikait family seat is in their village, of course. That too is in Muzaffarnagar. And here in this booth, if you just go to the other side, on the other side also you'll see these people queuing up to try and coming. And this steady stream of voters has continued since 7 in the morning, since the time voting has begun. What is the issue? What are the concerns here, ma'am? आप काफी देर से यहाँ इंतजार कर रही हैं, वोट देकर आ गई हैं। क्या मुद्दा है महिलाओं के लिए, खास करके मुझे आपको देख के लग रहा है गृहिणी है, घर चलाना मुश्किल हो गया है क्या?
जी, घर चलाना मुश्किल हो गया, पर सरकार अच्छी है, यही सरकार आनी चाहिए।
यही सरकार आनी चाहिए। Okay, so that's one voice from here. Let me see if I can get, ma'am, आप वोट देने जा रही हैं अंदर? Have you voted? आपने वोट दे दिया? What you look like a young voter to me. Please share your issues. What is the young voter in Muzaffarnagar thinking?
The thing is, like, I always feel proud whenever I give the vote. So today is usually I am out of time. This is the first time I am in a Muzaffarnagar, so I'm feeling very proud to give the vote.
Oh, you are just happy that you could cast your vote this time. As a woman who lives in Muzaffarnagar, is the issue of safety on your mind when you cast your vote? आपको लगता है महिला सुरक्षा एक मुद्दा है?
I personally feel in such a way. This is the reason that I can say, like, education is also one of the parties here.
Right.
Forget about the women issues.
Right.
Just because of that only we are going outside and out of Muzaffarnagar. I believe such colleges should be there. So people would be stay. Female also should be stay and they can live with their family.
So education and employment is
should be
issue.
there. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So you know, I've got different kinds of voices, and even though the official numbers about the voting percentage is still around 10% across western Uttar Pradesh, it is likely to go up because that's what anecdotal evidence seems to suggest. I actually spoke to Sanjeev Balyan, Union Minister, who's also helping the Bharatiya Janata Party campaign, and my colleague spoke to Sangeet Som, one of the contenders from the Meerut constituency from Sardana. Let's listen in to what the two high-profile members of the Western UP Bharatiya Janata Party establishment had to say. सुबह से बहुत ठंड है, मुजफ्फरनगर में खास करके कोहरा है, लेकिन वोटर्स लगातार बूथ्स की तरफ जा रहे हैं, रिकॉर्ड तोड़ वोटिंग हो रही है, ऐसी इनपुट आ रही है आपके पास?
देखिए, ये तो नहीं कह सकता कि रिकॉर्ड, चूंकि कुछ जगह ज़्यादा आ रहे हैं, कुछ जगह अभी तक पूरा मैं एनालिसिस नहीं कर सका।
अच्छा,
तो मैं अभी नहीं बता सकता।
आपके पास जैसी रिपोर्ट आ रही है, कुछ जगहों पे वोटर्स ज्यादा संख्या में निकल रहे हैं
और कुछ जगह कम संख्या में है।
जी,
कुछ जगह बहुत ज्यादा संख्या, कुछ जगह कम संख्या। तो पूरा एनालिसिस अभी नहीं हुआ है।
जी। कुछ लोग बात कर रहे हैं कि विकास और गुंडागर्दी से निजात पाना है। आपका अपना क्या रहा है जब आप घूमे हैं, लोगों से आपकी बातचीत कैसी रही?
देखिए, ये चुनाव पूरा का पूरा हम लोग पिछले 5 साल प्रदेश सरकार और 7.5 साल केंद्र सरकार में जो हमारे काम हुए, हम उनके आधार पर लड़ रहे हैं। अच्छा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, अच्छी सड़कें, 24 घंटे बिजली, बहुत बढ़िया लॉ एंड ऑर्डर, और साथ के साथ 12 से 17 उनकी नाकामयाबी जो अखिलेश यादव की सरकार रही है। क्योंकि अखिलेश यादव नए किसान प्रेमी है, 17 से पहले वो किसान नहीं थे।
बड़ी तादाद में लोग सुबह सुबह पहुंच रहे हैं। पहले 1 घंटे में महिलाएं, पुरुष लंबी लंबी कतारों में लगे हुए हैं। मैं 3-4 जो पोलिंग बूथ हैं, 112, 24, 23, इन सारे पोलिंग बूथ होके आया। इसको आप कैसे इंटरप्रेट कर रहे हैं?
देखिए, आप समझ नहीं रहे हैं। मैं मीडिया को शुरू से यही बताना चाह रहा हूँ, लोगों के अंदर चल क्या रहा है। लोगों ने 5 साल में सुरक्षित महसूस किया है। बहन बेटी गले में चैन 17 में से पहले गले में चैन पहनना बंद कर दिया था, कानों में कुंडल पहनना बंद कर दिया था। अखिलेश यादव लैपटॉप पे बैठ के राजनीति करते हैं, लैपटॉप पे थोड़ी होती, जरा जमीन पे तो आके देखे साहब। राजनीति जमीन पे होती है, बच्चों के साथ गेम खेलने से राजनीति नहीं होती। भारतीय जनता पार्टी जाति की राजनीति नहीं करती और सभी जाति के लोग भारतीय जनता पार्टी को वोट देते हैं। और आप यहाँ सभी जाति के लोग हैं, आप इनसे बात करेंगे, सब एक तरफा भारतीय जनता पार्टी को वोट दे रहे हैं। तो हमारे यहाँ जाट गुजर ठाकुर की कोई वो नहीं है, हमारे यहाँ सबका साथ सबका विकास है।
Let me go back to the guests now and bring in the RLD spokesperson Inderjeet Singh. इंद्रजीत जी, सवाल तो आपसे ये जरूर उठेगा कि अगर पार्टी के मुखिया इस चुनाव को सीरियसली अपने वोट से नहीं ले रहे, तो आप कैसे अपील करेंगे लोगों को कि आकर के वोट दें?
देखिए, बात यह है, हर फैमिली के अंदर, हर परिवार के अंदर सबकी अपनी नेचर, अपनी आस्था अपनी है। मान लो कोई आदमी कहीं जुड़ा हुआ है, कोई कहीं जुड़ा हुआ है, इससे मैं फोकस नहीं कर रहा हूँ। मेन मुद्दा जो फोकस ये है कि किस तरीके से किसानों के साथ पिछले 5 साल में हुआ है, किस तरीके से युवा रोजगार के बिना अधूरा रहा है, किस तरीके से व्यापारियों के साथ हुआ है, कोई चीज अछूती नहीं रह गई है।
जी, बड़े मुद्दों पर हम जरूर जाएंगे, उस पे आपके साथ ही चर्चा करेंगे, लेकिन सवाल आज का ये है कि जयंत चौधरी वोट क्यों नहीं देने जा रहे?
कहाँ वोट देने नहीं जा रहे?
आज उनका वोट था मथुरा में, लेकिन वो रैली अटेंड कर रहे हैं।
नहीं तो वोट उन्होंने बाय पोस्ट कर दिया होगा।
अच्छा, तो
कौन सा नेता बाय पोस्ट वोट करता है? बताइए, एक का नाम बता दीजिए।
वो राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष है।
पोस्ट कौन सा नेता वोट करता है?
सुनिए,
क्या बात कह रहे हैं आप?
अरे सुनिए सरकार, सुनिए वो राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष हैं और वो उनके जो प्रचार प्रसार की जो पहले से शेड्यूल बना हुआ है, उनको ये नहीं पता। आप जो टीचर्स हैं जो आज चुनाव ड्यूटी पे लगे हुए हैं,
क्या प्रचार करना वोट देने से महत्वपूर्ण है? ये बताइए, क्या मैसेज जा रहा है आपके खुद के काडर के पास? क्या मैसेज जा रहा है?
आप समझिए, उनकी परिवार ने पूरे ने वोट करा है। अगर जयंत चौधरी जी की मीटिंग्स लगी हुई हैं तो वो उन्हें
ज्यादा अहमियत रखती हैं। जयंत चौधरी अगर लोगों से अपील कर रहे हैं कि वो वोट दें उनकी पार्टी को, तो वो खुद क्यों नहीं वोट दे रहे हैं?
नहीं, अभी
एक रिस्पॉन्सिबल सिटीजन का ये जरूरी है। This is more important than anything.
Listen me. अभी शाम को 6 बजने में टाइम है। पहली बात, मैं एकदम से तो नहीं पूछ सकता अपने राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष से कि आपने वोट जो बैलेट से डाला है, आपने बाई पोस्ट डाला है। अभी शाम तक है, एक घंटे में हेलीकॉप्टर में आदमी कहीं भी पहुंच सकता है। मैं आपको एक अपने नॉलेज से बता रहा हूँ कि मे भी क्योंकि पहले से शेड्यूल बना हुआ था, अखिलेश जी ने साथ जाना था। बहुत सारी चीजें ऐसी जो सुविधाएं सरकार के द्वारा दी जा रही है। सरकार
बिल्कुल कन्विंसिंग नहीं है आपका जवाब, क्योंकि कोई भी ज्यादा काम इतना अहमियत वाला नहीं है कि आप अपना मतदान ना दें, जबकि आप उस पार्टी के चीफ हैं। Coming on this, Charu Pragya, I can see you smiling. Of course, the BJP has got an issue on the platter this morning.
Maria, I'm not even sure Jayant का वोट कहाँ का बना हुआ है. That's the first point I want to make, because They are not just him, his father before him. They have never casted votes in Uttar Pradesh as far as I am aware. And that's a sad thing because here you are being a part of democracy, being a part of nation building, and you don't even think casting your vote is important. Then how morally can you come in front of the public and say, मुझे वोट दो, जब आप खुद ही वोट की अहमियत नहीं समझते, आप दूसरों से वोट कैसे मांग रहे हो? I'm going to flip my camera around with your permission, Maria. Here I am crossing the city of Badot on my way to cast my vote today. And it's wonderful to see the turnout in this region. It's wonderful to see how people are very conscious. For the first time, Uttar Pradesh has more women voters.
Yes, we are seeing long queues of women voters, and that certainly gives us a lot of hope. Let's move away from the M factor that we have been discussing so far, that has been the Muslim factor. The focus should be on the Mahila voter, or the other M, which have become the primary talking point election after election. Will they be voting as, the Labhartis? And that brings me to Nalin Mehta. Nalin Mehta, time to talk about the Mahila voter. हम लोग इनके बारे में चर्चा किए हैं बहुत सारे चुनाव में. बिहार में किए हैं. We did also in Bengal recently.
Absolutely, Maria. Maria, before I respond to your question, I just want to say that on the last point you were mentioning, you mentioned that BJP has got an issue on its platter, and almost as if on cue, Amit Malviya has tweeted in the last 2 minutes saying, how responsible is it for Jayant Chaudhary to not go out and vote because he has an election rally? What message is he sending?
Yes.
Has he already abandoned the idea of winning? Why should people come out and even consider the RLD when he isn't serious about casting his vote? There's a direct quote from Amit Malviya's tweet.
Yes, I'm just going to put that out for our viewers. This is what he's just tweeted. I was just about to come to that, and you've taken the cue, Nalin. Clearly, you've got the news bug in you too. So this is what Amit Malviya has said. Amit Malviya coming out and saying, how is it responsible from someone like Jayant Chaudhary? After Jayant is decided not to cast his vote, questions are, does his vote even belong in Uttar Pradesh is the one question. The BJP chief, IT chief has hit out, IT cell chief Amit Malviya hitting out at Jayant Chaudhary. How responsible is it to not vote is the question that's been asked. What is the message that you're sending to your own cadre is the question that's being asked. If you yourself are not going to go to vote, have you either conceded defeat, or are you telling your cadre don't go out and vote? What is it? Has he already abandoned the idea of winning is again a question that's going to be asked. And it's being asked. इंद्रजीत सिंह जी देखिए, अमित मालवीय ने भी ट्वीट किया है, हर कोई यही पूछने वाला है कि जयंत चौधरी क्यों वोट नहीं कर रहे हैं. आप भी यही कहेंगे?
आप अगर बात डिबेट पे मुझे रखा है और क्वेश्चन करेंगे तो मुझे उसका जवाब देने का मौका
जी आप दीजिए.
मैं ये कहना चाह रहा हूँ कि अभी सुबह के 11:30 बजे हैं. अभी आपने इसको इतना मुद्दा बना दिया है. क्या देश के अंदर बाकी सब मुद्दे खत्म हो गए हैं? जयंत जी के वोट के ऊपर डिबेट हो रही है. अगर जयंत जी शाम तक वोट डालने नहीं जाएंगे.
इंद्रजीत दी, दावेदारी मैं आप ही से पूछ रहा हूँ. दावेदारी आप पेश कर रहे हैं. आप कह रहे हैं कि जयंत चौधरी और समाजवादी पार्टी अखिलेश यादव ही जवाब है उत्तर प्रदेश के लिए. ये बेल्ट है जो आपका गढ़ माना जाता है, यानी आरएलडी का गढ़ माना जाता है, फर्स्ट फेज में इंपॉर्टेंट है. और मैं आपसे पूछ रहा हूँ कि जयंत चौधरी के ऑफिस से खबर आई है, जो कि एएनआई ने चलाया, कि वो आज अपना वोट नहीं कर रहे हैं, वो बिजनौर में कहीं रैली कर रहे हैं, रैली को प्राथमिकता दे रहे हैं. तो फिर क्या सवाल तो बीजेपी पूछा, हम भी पूछ रहे हैं कि आज के दिन, जिस दिन आपका वोट आता है, उस दिन वोट करना प्राथमिकता नहीं होनी चाहिए?
मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ जो बिग लीडर्स जब कोई बड़े लीडर्स हैं, किसी पार्टी के राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष हैं, वो कहीं से भी अपना वोट कर सकते हैं. आपने कोई क्वेश्चन पुटअप करा है, आपके इतने बड़े चैनल पे मेरे लिए कोई भी चीज गलत कोड करना शायद मेरे लिए और पार्टी के लिए ठीक नहीं होगा. आप मुझे जस्ट वेट कीजिए, मैं आपको क्लैरिफाई, अभी मैं शाम तक आपके साथ हूँ, आपको क्लियर करूंगा. लेकिन मकसद ये नहीं है कि वोट कैसे नहीं करेंगे, किस माध्यम से करा है.
मैं बस आपसे इंद्रजीत जी, मैं आपसे ये पूछ रहा, मैं आपसे ये कह रहा हूँ कि 9:30 बजे हमें ये खबर आई थी. अब देखिए माफी चाहता हूँ, 10:30 बजे खबर आई थी और 11:30 से ऊपर हो गए. 1.5 घंटा तो कम से कम हो गया जब से ये खबर आ रही है. और जब आरएलडी की तरफ से फौरी तौर पर कोई क्लैरिफिकेशन अभी तक नहीं आया है. फौरी तौर पर तो ये आ जाना चाहिए था, क्योंकि कोर्ट उन्हीं के ऑफिस को किया गया है.
जी, आपने मेरे से हार्डली 5 मिनट पहले आपने मेरे से कोई क्वेश्चन
मैं तो आपसे पूछ रहा हूं, लेकिन आपको खुद ये इंटीमेशन 1.5 घंटे में अगर नहीं आया तो फिर तो कुछ तो चल रहा है, कुछ तो वहां पर ये कुछ तो गड़बड़ है ना। मैं यही पूछ रहा हूं आपसे। मेरे साथ अरुण ढांटा भी मौजूद हैं। अरुण ढांटा, प्लीज टेल अस, इज जयंत चौधरी गोइंग टू कम एंड कास्ट हिज वोट? आप उसी एरिया में है, ब्रज में ही है। Arun, can you hear me? Is Jayant Chaudhary going to cast his vote?
Yes. Well, Anand, I am in Kairana at this moment, and I can tell you about the Kairana situation. What is going on? Because
Arun, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull away from you for a bit. Charu Pragya wanted to make a point, and then I'll try and connect with Nikhil Lakhwani, who's there in Braj in Mathura in that region where it is Jayant Chaudhary supposedly has his vote. So we'll try and find out on ground what are the RLD cadres saying. 45% vote share you had in 2012. That is that area where you want to come back, which the BJP has taken away your vote share, just as Zaka was telling us. Charu Pragya, you want to make a point?
Anand, first of all, RLD has been a party which has lost its vote share because it has stayed fickle to its ideology. They are not sure which way they want to go. There are conflicting statements which come from their leader. One day they want to be a Jat party, the next day they want to be a Kisan party. Why can they not just be a party which is focusing on people and their welfare? And moving on from there, I think they don't understand the importance of clean and celebratory democracy. If the leader of a party, the chief of a party, declares very openly and happily that he does not want to cast his vote because he has something else more important, well, I want to ask, what is more important on a day such as today than casting your vote?
Irrespective of who they vote for, whether whichever party they vote for, or even if they go and press the nota button, it is important that everybody goes out to vote. Anumaji, I'm sure you would agree with that. Isn't it surprising that a leader who's taking claim and challenging the incumbent is saying that I'm not going to vote today?
Who is Amit Malviya? Who is Amit Malviya, who is always looking for such kind of things? See, I am not from that party, but I'm just laughing to myself that this is how the fake news and the narrative is built up. So this is what is happening. This is so surprising to me. Congress, I will talk about Congress, which always, we have led by example. We have distributed 40% tickets to the women. I don't see any reference to that in this entire show. I have been here for last 45 minutes. So, why can't we talk about an inclusive politics? And here we heard a candidate of BJP talking about, "Hum jati ki rajniti nahi karte." तो आप तो धर्म की राजनीति करते हैं, but Congress doesn't do both the राजनीति, neither of.
No, but Anumaji, you would also agree that the Congress party is also fighting the SP and the RLD. They are also opposition for you. The BSP is also opposition for you because you have to win. Your candidates have to win above them.
See,
so for you to take up, so why are you steering clear of taking a position on Jayant Chaudhary not going out to vote?
No, here the issue is this is a constitutional right and he should exercise it. Beyond that, I limit my comment. There is no requirement of me talking about some Amit Malviya who is a fake narrative builder.
No, it's not Amit Malviya. The story is Jayant Chaudhary, ma'am. And in the same region of Mathura where the Congress is in contention and you can win votes. And in the past, the RLD had held sway and the BJP holds sway. Everywhere, you are the one who's got to eat onto the vote share of every other party. Not just the BJP. You got to eat onto the vote share of SP, BSP, RLD, everywhere.
If you are so much into data churning, then you would know that our vote share will increase from the voters who have voted for BJP. Our vote share will definitely increase. There is no, nobody can challenge that.
So you want only BJP voters to move to the Congress. You don't want SP, BSP or RLD voters to move to you at all.
I begin my, take from saying that we are all-inclusive party. We look after everybody, whether they are Dalits, whether this is Hindu, anybody, Muslims, all-inclusive.
You know, that argument, everybody has a base. Every political party has a base. And then there are additions to it. Nalin Mehta, come in on this. You know, while we talk about Jayant not going to vote, and that will be very difficult for him and also his alliance partner, the Samajwadi Party, to defend, because on such an important occasion, nothing is more important than going to cast your vote, exercising that right. You keep talking about it. You are trying to motivate your cadres, trying to ask for your party, from everybody to vote for your party, and you yourself, as the chief of the party, not going to cast your vote. Nalin, let me go back to the question here. Here is the Congress party leader saying that we are looking at our voting percentage will go up. It has been declining. Anand just showed it to us on the map as well. But every party has a base. Then there is addition to that base. Look at regional parties, even the BJP. What has happened to the BJP base? How has that base changed? And when they look at addition, does it have to do with gender as well?
Absolutely, Maria. You mentioned the M factor has often been talked about as the Muslim factor. It's also the Mahila factor, as you said it. The fact of the matter is the BJP's core base has been the Hindutva base for a very long time, 17-18%. But the reason why it's been winning elections in the last 5 years more than it's been losing or doing better at them compared to before is because it's added newer classes of voters, and a very significant part, we talked about the caste factor, but a very significant part of the newer kind of voters that have come to the BJP is women voters. In this country, historically, women have not voted as much as men from the time the Election Commission started collecting gender-based data on voting in the mid-60s. That started changing. In 2019 was the first election when the women voter turnout rate was higher than the men turnout rate. Along with this much more women voting now than ever before, along with that, the second factor which has changed is that at a national level, these women voters, who a significant part of which, of whom earlier preferred the Congress, and a whole bunch of surveys show that compared to the BJP, the gap was this much between the Congress and BJP. That has changed. And in 2019, the BJP's triumph was driven by the fact that in state after state after state, in the majority of states, women voters voted more for BJP than for Congress, in UP in particular. And there is a dichotomy here that the opposition to the BJP on many issues like CA, NRC and so on, in urban areas has often been led by women activists. But conversely, the BJP's electoral triumphs have been driven by
one more aspect to this women voter, and Zaka will come in on this. And Zaka, not only their own vote, women have started influencing the vote of the household. Yeah. Which is a shift from what we had seen in the past.
It used to be, the
men
patriarch,
deciding.
Yeah, the patriarch would decide and the women would follow. Now the opposite is happening. But actually, just to add to what Nalin was saying, this is a playbook that Mr. Modi cultivated as Chief Minister of Gujarat. Yes. You go back to the 2007 Gujarat election, go back to the 2012 Gujarat election. Women formed a core vote base for Mr. Modi as Chief Minister. He's now managed to successfully replicate that in UP, in Bihar, in other North Indian states. But the playbook is the same from Gujarat. It's definitely from 2007 and 2012.
And in UP also, it's almost 48-49% women voters.
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
not a small number. And
they
can significantly swing. Yeah.
And women tend to look at their, the monthly bill. Yeah. And that gets impacted by multiple aspects, be it the Ujjwala or the ration scheme. And then initially, it was about the men folk in the house deciding which way the entire household will vote. Now, the women voters are deciding also for their young boys and young girls. No. So, the direction of politics is also, intelligently
also, how far do I have to go out, step out of the house to even, conduct my daily routine? Do I really have to go into the khet anymore? Do I have to really, how far do I have to walk to get water? Can I go out for a jog early in the morning without having to worry? Is there a school, college nearby which I can access? Many questions which remain. Who's delivering on these promises? That's the challenge. And who do you think will deliver on the promise? For that, you've got to go and vote. Stay with us.
Where Dhirendra Singh campaigned, a fight broke out between RLD and BJP supporters.
ये तो बीजेपी वाले तो न्यू कहे हैं कि चीन और पाकिस्तान, हिंदू और मुसलमान और बुर्की मार है मंदिर की। जो ठोस मुद्दा है महंगाई और बेरोजगारी, उसकी चर्चा नहीं है, उससे तो ध्यान हटका हुए हैं।
यह वह क्षेत्र है जेवर जहाँ रात को लाइटें नहीं थी, जहाँ दंगा होता था। आज की डेट में वो दंगा या तो जेलों के भीतर है या उन्हें इस दुनिया से समाप्त कर दिया है। और वो किया है केवल योगी जी ने। मैं भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार में 2017 के बाद 3 बार पुलिस के एग्जाम दे चुका, मेरा नंबर नहीं आता, उसमें मेरी गलती है। सरकार बाइज्जत रोजगार निकाल रही है और कोशिश करती है कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा रोजगार दें।
The Jewar airport will service all of western Uttar Pradesh, from Noida to Bulandshahr, Mathura, Agra, Ghaziabad and Meerut. While BJP showcases the airport and with it Yogi government's commitment to Vikas, the largely agrarian belt in these parts debate if the Kisan is getting his due.
नाराजगी की वजह यह है कि किसानों के लिए कुछ ये कर ना पाए 5 साल वो सरकार चलाने के बाद, जो समय पे जो फसल आवे उसकी बिक्री नहीं हो।
कोई कुछ फायदा नहीं, रोजगार नहीं, भर्ती नहीं, कुछ क्या फायदा है बताओ तुम।
पिछली बार मुझे याद है 17 में, 14 में, 19 में मोदी जी जो भी वादे करते थे, योगी जी जो भी वादे करते थे, युवा वर्ग उसको बहुत अच्छे से लेता था। उनको लगता था यही आपके लिए सही है। अब क्या युवा वर्ग की सोच में कुछ बदलाव आ गया है, कुछ अलग सोचता है?
कुछ बदलाव नहीं है मैम। सबसे मेन चीज़ है कि युवा पढ़ाई लिखाई करता है, इसलिए करता है कि हमें कोई रोज़गार मिले, लेकिन हमारी डिग्रियां डिप्लोमा अलमारियों में पड़े सड़ रही हैं, कोई जॉब कुछ है नहीं। सबसे मेन चीज़ है यहाँ का विकास इतनी तेज़ी से चल रहा है कि मैं खुद जेवर गवर्नमेंट ITI से ITI कर रहा हूँ। मेरा सन 2018 का बैच है, अब 22 चल चुकी है। तो आप सोचिए जो 2 साल का कोर्स है, 4 साल तक मैं बराबर पेपर दे रहा हूँ।
बहुत सारे मुद्दे गिना रहे थे कि यहाँ पे रोजगार का
बेरोजगारी है, विकास है। इन्होंने देखो जो हमारी सरकार है रोजगार के मामले में तो बहुत पीछे। विकास कुछ हद तक इन्होंने किया है, ठीक किया है, लेकिन अगर बात करते हैं इनके जो प्रत्याशी थे, जो जीते हुए प्रत्याशी हैं, उन्होंने यहाँ हमारे यहाँ कोई विकास नहीं किया। वो तो केवल अपने गांव के इर्द गिर्द, उनका गांव है रघुपुरा के नजदीक, उन्होंने केवल वहाँ विकास किया है, अपने यहाँ केवल लोकल में।
विधायक से आप नाराज हैं?
बहुत अच्छी तरह से नाराज।
मुख्यमंत्री और प्रधानमंत्री?
मुख्यमंत्री तो बहुत अच्छा है, योगी बाबा जैसा मुख्यमंत्री शासन के लिए बहुत अच्छा है।
You know, they're all saying that employment is an issue, and they're also saying that there is an issue of Vikas, but at the same time, what they are saying is that as far as the Chief Minister and the Prime Minister is concerned, they don't have any
जनता पार्टी की डबल इंजन की सरकार एक बार फिर से आपके पास आई है। आज मैं आपसे कह सकता हूं कि 5 साल के बाद आज हम सब ये कह सकते हैं कि आज उत्तर प्रदेश बड़े बड़े माफिया और अपराधी जो पहले सत्ता के संरक्षण में रह करके उत्तर प्रदेश के व्यापारियों का, आम नागरिकों का जीना हराम करते थे, जो गुंडे और सौदे बेटियों की सुरक्षा के लिए खतरा बने हुए थे, आज मैं 5 साल के बाद कह सकता हूं ये अपराधी और माफिया आज उत्तर प्रदेश की धरती से या तो छोड़ करके जा चुके हैं या उत्तर प्रदेश सरकार की बुलडोजर ने उनको ठिकाना लगाने का काम भी कर दिया है। आज पश्चिमी उत्तर प्रदेश हो या मध्य उत्तर प्रदेश, पूर्वी उत्तर प्रदेश हो या बुंदेलखंड, चारों ओर उत्तर प्रदेश की कोई भी बेटी, कोई भी बहन बेझिझक जा सकती है। उसे आज कोई भय किसी सौदे और किसी गुंडे का नहीं है। ये बेटी की सुरक्षा के साथ, उत्तर प्रदेश के व्यापारियों की सुरक्षा के साथ, उत्तर प्रदेश के नागरिकों की सुरक्षा के साथ जो वायदा भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार ने किया था, अपने उस वायदे को भारतीय जनता पार्टी की डबल इंजन की सरकार ने पूरा किया। भाइयों बहनों, ये वही सहारनपुर है जो सीमांत जनपद होने के कारण सदैव उपेक्षित रहता था। यहां के बारे में पिछली सरकारों को कोई फुर्सत ही नहीं थी और पहली बार आपने देखा होगा डबल इंजन की सरकार किस रूप में कार्य करती है। 1 दर्जन से ज्यादा बार मैंने अकेले सहारनपुर का दौरा किया था और यहां के विकास की योजनाओं के साथ यहां के जनप्रतिनिधियों से चर्चा की थी। आज सहारनपुर दिल्ली मार्ग हो या सहारनपुर से हरिद्वार जाने वाला मार्ग, या भाइयों बहनों आपकी बहुप्रतीक्षित मांग कि सहारनपुर में मां शाकंभरी के नाम पर हमारा एक विश्वविद्यालय होना चाहिए। आज उस विश्वविद्यालय की मांग को भी सहारनपुर के अंदर पूरा कर दिया गया है। भाइयों बहनों, ये सीमांत जनपद होने के नाते जो सदैव एक चुनौती हम सबके सामने बनी रहती थी, और वह चुनौती इस बात की बनी रहती थी कि सीमांत जनपद होने के नाते यहां पर विकास नहीं पहुंचता था, यहां पर शासन की योजनाएं नहीं पहुंचती थी, और पिछली सरकारें सपा की रही हो या बसपा की, उन सरकारों में उन्हें जब यहां पर बिजली नहीं दे पाए थे तो उन्होंने इसे डार्क जोन भी घोषित कर दिया था। भाइयों बहनों, वे अंधेरे में रहने के आदी थे, उन्होंने सहारनपुर को डार्क जोन घोषित किया था। लेकिन भाइयों बहनों, हमारी सरकार आई, भारतीय जनता पार्टी की डबल इंजन की सरकार ने डार्क जोन से मुक्त करके 24 घंटे बिजली देने का काम भी किया, डार्क जोन से मुक्त करवाया, और सूखे हुए हैंडपंप को उखाड़ करके पाइप पेयजल के माध्यम से घर घर शुद्ध जल उपलब्ध कराने के एक नए कार्यक्रम को आगे करने का कार्य कर रही है। भाइयों बहनों, जो लोग पहले यहां पर दंगा करवाते थे, कोई भूला नहीं होगा मुजफ्फरनगर का दंगा, सहारनपुर का सिख विरोधी दंगा, और कोई व्यक्ति कैराना और कांधला को पश्चिमी उत्तर प्रदेश में कभी भूल नहीं सकता। ये वही क्षेत्र हैं जहां पर कभी व्यापारी प्लान करता था। आपको याद होगा क्या मुजफ्फरनगर के दंगे के पीछे का कारण क्या था? दंगे का एक ही कारण था, सचिन और गौरव नाम के दो युवक अपनी बहन की रक्षा करने के लिए, एक सौदे से बचाने के लिए जब कबाल कस्बे में जाते हैं, इन दो नौ युवकों की हत्या कर दी जाती है। उस समय एक लड़का सत्ता में बैठ करके लखनऊ से दंगा करवा रहा था, और दूसरा लड़का, जो ये दो लड़कों की जोड़ी आई है, ये दूसरा लड़का दिल्ली से दंगों का तमाशा देख रहा था। तब इसके मुंह पर कभी नहीं निकला कि ये निर्दोष नागरिकों की हत्या क्यों हो रही है। एक तरफ नौजवान मारे जा रहे थे, एक तरफ नौजवानों की निर्मम हत्या हो रही थी, बेटियों की सुरक्षा खतरे में पड़ी हुई थी, और दूसरी तरफ किस प्रकार की अव्यवस्था और अराजकता थी कि सत्ता प्रायोजित अपराधी और आतंकवादियों के द्वारा, पेशेवर माफियाओं के द्वारा किस तरीके से भावनाओं के साथ खिलवाड़ हो रहा था। ये मुजफ्फरनगर का दंगा इसका जीता जागता उदाहरण था। कोसी कला का दंगा रहा हो या फिर मुजफ्फरनगर का दंगा, सहारनपुर का दंगा रहा हो या मेरठ और बुलंदशहर का उपद्रव, अलीगढ़ के दंगे रहे हों, दंगों की श्रृंखला चलती थी। पिछली सरकारों के समय भाइयों बहनों, उस समय किस प्रकार की अराजकता थी। सरकार एक तरफ कर्फ्यू लगा करके, दंगा करा करके कर्फ्यू लगाती थी, पर्व और त्योहार नहीं मनाने देती थी, अव्यवस्था और अराजकता का तांडव कराती थी, और दूसरी तरफ पर्व और त्योहारों पर रोक लगाती थी, कावड़ यात्रा नहीं निकलने देती थी। हमने कर्फ्यू को हटाया, लेकिन भाइयों बहनों, कावड़ यात्रा को भी हमारी सरकार ने ही प्रारंभ किया। आज उत्तर प्रदेश में कर्फ्यू नहीं, आज उत्तर प्रदेश में कावड़ यात्रा निकलती है, बड़ी धूमधाम के साथ कावड़ यात्रा निकलती है। आज उत्तर प्रदेश में कावड़ यात्रा पर कोई रोक नहीं लगा सकता, कोई माए के लाल की हिम्मत नहीं कावड़ यात्रा को उत्तर प्रदेश के अंदर अब रोक सके। ये नए भारत का नया उत्तर प्रदेश है, जहां पर अराजकता नहीं, कर्फ्यू नहीं, जहां पर 24 घंटे लाइट रहती है, और जहां पर आस्था का सम्मान करते हुए पश्चिम में कावड़ यात्रा निकलती है, मथुरा वृंदावन में ब्रज तीर्थ विकास परिषद का गठन होता है तो पूरब में अवध में भगवान राम का भव्य मंदिर के निर्माण का कार्य भी संपन्न होता है। ये सभी कार्यक्रम भारतीय जनता पार्टी की डबल इंजन की सरकार करवा रही है और इसलिए भाइयों बहनों आज मैं आपके पास आया हूं आपसे कहने के लिए आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी कुछ ही देर में उनका सानिध्य हमें प्राप्त होगा। मेरी आप सबसे अपील होगी, इधर जो लोग खड़े हैं उनसे मेरी अपील होगी वे लोग खड़े न रहें, सीधे पहले अपना आसन ग्रहण कर लें, कुर्सी ग्रहण कर लें। जल्दी से आकर के वे लोग उधर उधर बैठे ना, वहां तुरंत चले जाए, अपनी जगह बैठ लें, स्थान ले लें। भाइयों बहनों आपने देखा होगा वर्तमान में पूरी दुनिया और पूरा देश कोरोना महामारी का सामना कर रही है। कोरोना के दौरान या तो केंद्र सरकार कार्य कर रही थी या राज्य सरकार कार्य कर रही थी या फिर भारतीय जनता पार्टी के पदाधिकारी और जनप्रतिनिधि कार्य कर रहे थे। एक एक व्यक्ति का हालचाल लेना, उनकी सेवा करना, उनके सहयोग के लिए खड़ा रहना और सरकार ने तो फ्री में टेस्ट, फ्री में उपचार, फ्री में वैक्सीन, कितने लोगों ने वैक्सीन ले लिया है? कोरोना का वैक्सीन कितने लोगों ने लिया है? आप सबको मैं हृदय से अभिनंदन करूंगा कि आप सबने वैक्सीन ले लिया है। फ्री में वैक्सीन, सबको वैक्सीन, ये मोदी जी ने दिया है। भाइयों बहनों जो लोग वैक्सीन के खिलाफ दुष्प्रचार करते थे, कहते थे ये वैक्सीन भाजपा वैक्सीन है, कहते थे ये वैक्सीन मोदी वैक्सीन है, आज उनको जवाब दीजिए ये वैक्सीन भाजपा वैक्सीन नहीं, हमारी जान को बचाया है। और फ्री वैक्सीन, सबको वैक्सीन के साथ ही भाइयों बहनों डबल डोज राशन का, डबल इंजन की सरकार ने डबल डोज राशन का भी सबको उपलब्ध करवाया है। आज मैं आप सबसे अपील कर रहा हूं, कुछ ही देर में आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का आगमन हो रहा है। मैं आप सबसे अपील करूंगा कि आप सभी जो लोग यहां कोने में खड़े हैं, कृपया वे लोग कुर्सी ले लें, इस साइड को आकर के वहां खड़े न रहें, तो तुरंत जाएं। वे जो लोग पीछे खड़े हैं वे लोग जाकर के वहां कुर्सी ले लें। और भाइयों बहनों ये कार्यक्रम हमारा निरंतर चलेगा। आज के इस अवसर पर मेरी आप सबसे अपील होगी, भारतीय जनता पार्टी के बेहट के प्रत्याशी श्री नरेश सैनी, नकुड़ से प्रत्याशी श्री मुकेश चौधरी, सहारनपुर नगर से श्री राजीव गुंबर, सहारनपुर देहात से श्री जगपाल सिंह, देवबंद से कुंवर ब्रजेश सिंह, रामपुर मनिहारन से श्री देवेंद्र निम और गंगो से कीरत सिंह गुजर, इन सभी प्रत्याशियों को कमल चुनाव चिन्ह पर 14 फरवरी को भारी बहुमत से विजयी बनाने की अपील आप सबसे करते हुए मैं अपनी वाणी को यहीं पर विराम देता हूं। आप सब मेरे साथ बोलेंगे, भारत माता की, भारत माता की, भारत माता की, जय जय श्री राम, जय जय श्री राम।
आपके बीच में well, that was the UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath standing in Saharanpur and saying that we've brought the story of development, but more importantly trying to highlight the issue of lawlessness, law and order versus lawlessness, Mafiyawad versus Vikaswad, Tamanchawadi versus Vikaswadi, Rashtravadi. This has been something, a line that Yogi Adityanath has not shifted from. He has continued to maintain and take this position, and once again telling the people of Saharanpur, just ahead of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Any moment now we will have Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who said that it is for the first time in a long time after the COVID protocols were taken away or lifted by the Election Commission, that he is going to be attending a physical rally. So he has this big rally in Saharanpur at this point, and he will be addressing other rallies too. But the Prime Minister also telling the people that the issue of law and order is important, is going to be one of the first or most prime issues in the minds of the people. The issue of development and, more importantly, sabka saath. He's saying that this is a narrative or the talk of pro-incumbency, where because we have delivered on our promises, where because we have worked for every section of society, this is going to, the people should cast their ballot or repose their faith in us. Will that happen? We'll have to see. What is the force and energy that the Prime Minister brings to this platform when he addresses people physically? We'll have to wait and watch, because he's been in his aggressive, combative best over the last 3 or 4 days. First the Lok Sabha, the tirade against dynastic politics, and saying this is the bane as far as our politics is concerned, because that's what we've had to deal with large part of the 75 years. Underlining that once again in that interview with ANI only yesterday. Let's listen into some of the reactions as UP goes to the polls today. The first phase, 58 seats in the fray, nearly about 20 to 22% voting so far. So there is steady polling at the booths. A high voter turnout is expected. And let's quickly listen into some of the reactions before the Prime Minister steps in.
I'm joined by MOS General Vikas Singh. Sir, you tell me how firm you are, how BJP is going to perform.
BJP is going to perform very well, and we will have a majority government in UP.
What are the issues that people are voting for?
People are voting for the type of security environment that is there. There are no land grabbers, there are no mafias, there are no people